Is it fine, Rajiv?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Rajiv, sir, you are host now.
Yeah, and Rajiv, one thing, like, Gabriel has sent a presentation I have shared with you. Presentation of Intan and Dr. Thuba has already been emailed to you.
Okay.
Check and download at your desktop. So Gabriel has requested for, like running the presentation, it will be responsibility at your end. So she will be speaking at the back.
Okay.
So you keep on, moving slideshow just after 5 or 6 seconds.
Okay.
In case if you want, Gabriel can speak here to Rajiv. All fine, Rajiv?
All fine, sir.
Take over in, आपके सारे modes on हैं जो whatever you are looking for.
Yes.
Some secured features are already done by Navneet. I hope so.
Yes. So the thing is, so Sumit sir, can you just confirm with Gitanjali ma'am and Dia Andrea? Dr. Sumit.
Rajiv, Hitesh is not able to unmute himself. Check.
Okay, just a minute. Hitesh sir, can you just please try again?
Yes, Rajiv, one last thing I just wanted to share.
Yes.
If you go through that minute-to-minute program, program, one by one I'll be introducing, like first chief guest Mr. Aditya Pundi, and then I'll request him to give his opening remarks on the program, and then we'll go to the second person, means once Mr. Aditya Pundi completes his particular deliberation.
Okay.
So, right?
That's
So
fine.
I hope this we have discussed earlier also. It is clear.
Yes, that is fine. So I suppose we have left with
Good morning, all. It is 11:28, and we'll start sharp at 11:30. morning all. It is 11:30 and we are going to start with the virtual dialogue on South Asian Youth Sustainable Development. May I request Mr. Vivek Trivedi, founder and honorary principal advisor, APS WDP, come honorary national coordinator, disasters, poverty, livelihood, the climate reality project India, to please give the formal welcome and program background. Mr. Vivek Trivedi, please.
Good morning to all of you. Pranam, Namaste, Drobha Dile, Magan Dang Umaga, Bui Sang Tui Lai, Selamat Pagi. In pursuit of commemorating World Environment Day 2021 and the launch of UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration 2021-30, Association of Professional Social Workers and Development Practitioners has conceived the South Asian Youth Sustainable Development Virtual Dialogue 21 in institutional partnership with Punjab Energy Development Agency and technical and knowledge support from the Climate Reality Project India and the mobilization support from E-Conscious Society, Royal Thimphu College, Bhutan, to be held today, that is 5th of June 2021 virtually, with an aim to address the issues of conserving biodiversity, restoring ecosystems and climate change. In addition, this dialogue is intended to develop understanding and exploring indigenous knowledge on biodiversity conservation and climate change adaptation. I feel honored and privileged to welcome the Chief Patron, Honorable Navjot Pal Singh Randhawa, IAS Chief Executive Officer, Punjab Energy Development Agency, Government of Punjab, Patron Engineer MP Singh, Director PEDA, and today's Chief Guest, Sri Aditya Pundi, Head India and South Asia, the Climate Reality Project. The special guest, Gitanjali M. J. Kumar, Indian Forest Services, come Research Fellow, Helsinki University, Finland. Guest of honor, Dia Andrea Verli, co-founder EcoWorks, Switzerland. Guest of honor, Dr. Thu Ba Huynh, Senior Advisor, Environment and Climate Change, Asia Pacific, FHI 360, Australia, and distinguished guest, Dr. T. Kemala Intan, founder, Grahakina Foundation, Indonesia. In addition, I also welcome our young panelist, LC Gabriel from India, Vich Pham from Vietnam, Kinley Dorji from Bhutan, Sanjaya Devkota from Nepal, and R. Clario Demasitya Jaya from Indonesia, who are practitioners, activists in the field of environment, biodiversity, and climate change. I also welcome other eminent guests and esteemed members of APSWDP, key functionaries of association, including Dr. Monica Singh, Dr. J.K. Yadav, Rekha Trivedi, Dr. Sumit Arora, Hitesh Kumar Gulati, Rajiv Kumar, Dr. Anshu Kumar, and Karamveer Singh. It is indeed our pleasure to welcome the august gathering of participants from various states of India and from diverse domain of social work, legal background, teaching, corporate social responsibility, government officials, healthcare professionals, graduates, and postgraduate students from social work. And I welcome practitioners and participants from other countries, including Indonesia, Bhutan, Ghana, Peru, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Philippines, Cambodia, Thailand, Canada, Australia, Vietnam, Ethiopia, and Japan as well, who have shown interest in the South Asian Youth Virtual Dialogue. In fact, the wider participation across 7 continents has made it actually beyond South Asian context, leading to virtual global dialogue. Thanks to I shall say thanks to our wider networks, partners, and eminent members abroad for this expansion and outreach. If we see the historical aspect, the World Environment Day was first celebrated in 1972 by UN at the Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment that had resulted from discussions on the integration of human interactions and the environment. 2 years later, in 74, the first World Environment Day was held with the theme Only One Earth, even though World Environment Day celebrations has been held annually since 1974. In 87, the idea for rotating the center of these activities through selecting different host country began. And this year, our neighbor, Pakistan, is celebrating the World Environment Day 2021 under the patronage of United Nations. The theme for World Environment Day 21 is ecosystem restoration. And we'll see the launch of UN Decade on ecosystem restoration. Ecosystem restoration can take many forms: growing trees, greening cities, rewilding gardens, changing diets of cleanup rivers, coast, and above changing our lifestyle and modifying behaviors. Gandhiji, M.K. Gandhi, the father of the nation, has once said, "Be the change you want to see in this world." This is the generation that can make peace with nature. APSWDP is a not-for-profit, membership-based voluntary professional association established in 2014 with motivation received after participation in UNESCO ESD World Conference 2014 at Nagoya in Japan. APSWDP has been conferred special consultative status under the United Nations Economic and Social Council of United Nations and affiliated with Department of Global Communications, United Nations, International Association of Schools of Social Work, and registered with Niti Aayog, that's the former Planning Commission of India. Aligned to the global goals, that is Sustainable Development Goals and ESD, Education for Sustainable Development of UNESCO, APSWDP has a mandate and been working on promoting social work education for sustainable development and focuses on 3 of the 5 priority areas of Global Action Program under ESD, that is building capacity of educators and trainers, empowering and mobilizing youth, and accelerating sustainable solutions at local level. Further, we must all accelerate progress today by sensitizing various stakeholders working on environmental studies, conservation, biodiversity restoration, urban poverty, livelihood, disaster, and climate change mitigation. The outcome of this dialogue will enable all the participants and panelists to document their ideas and solutions, and it will be further shared with the United Nations and other bodies like UNFCCC for framing a comprehensive global plan for the future we want. We feel privileged to witness the deliberations from our chief guest speakers, and invited youth speakers from all over the world. Thank you very much. Over to Hitesh.
So thank you very much, Vivekji. And before we start this virtual dialogue, let me introduce you to our chief guest of the virtual dialogue today, Mr. Aditya Pundi. Mr. Aditya Pundi is Director, India and South Asia at the Climate Reality Project India. He took over the branch in 2010 and is posted in New Delhi. He received his training from Honorable Vice President of US, Al Gore, in 2009 on climate change and was selected for Australian Leadership Awards training 2013 in environment. He has worked extensively in the field of climate change and sustainability in India. He has authored 2 books on natural world heritage sites for UNESCO, 5 environment education CD-ROMs, and 8 comics for children on environmental issues. He also represented on consultation committees on climate change in India formed by UNDP, World Bank, UNESCO. We welcome you, Mr. Aditya Pundi, and it is over to you, Mr. Aditya Pundi, to please give the opening remarks for the virtual dialogue today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hitesh. And it is my pleasure to be here and wishing everyone a wonderful World Environment Day 2021. And with your permission, I would like to share my screen. I have put my thoughts together in a few slides, which I would like to share with the audience.
Sure, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Is my screen visible? Okay.
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So Vivekji has already introduced us to the 2021, so best wishes from my side once again. So we are focusing on ecosystems this year, and this time the break is that the UNEP has decided not to talk about every year. They have said, no, let's this time talk about for 10 years ahead. So to begin with, why do you think this thought process has changed? Why has suddenly we are talking now about in this way? So I would like you to focus your thought process on all the SDGs which were declared in 2015, and by 2030 we are supposed to achieve them. And we are making good development. We are developing well in a couple of SDGs, but unfortunately SDG number 13, 14, and 15, all these 3 SDGs somehow are not doing all that well. And probably, as you know, climate change is intensifying. It is getting more problematic. Oceans are under threat, and life on land, everybody knows, it's becoming a huge emergency in itself. So therefore, what the UNEP decided was that probably if we have to achieve these SDGs, because the SDGs are something you cannot achieve in isolation, they have to be achieved together. So the problem is that in case if we have to achieve this, then we have to get all these three, the SDG 13, 14, 15 under control by 2030 to achieve. So that is why this special focus on 10 years this time, not we are just not talking about 1 year. And I will talk a little bit more about climate change, and because this is one thing which is going to be one of the biggest problems in achieving our SDGs, not only our UNEP's SDGs, that is the environmental SDGs 13, 14 and 15, but also other SDGs which are concerned. So as you know, climate change is going to be one of the biggest threats we are facing for the development of the planet in the coming times. And it used to be always thought about, like when I did my climate change training way back in 2009, we used to always say, well, this is something the posterity will face, but we are trying to make you aware about it. But no, the situation is so different. We are facing it in our lifetime. It's already happening in front of our eyes. And I think people in, especially in South Asia, they are no strangers to climate change. The way the floods have been happening, that we have having early floods this time in Bihar, we had last year in Bihar, in Assam, and all those regions we had early floods. Uh, then you are having, first you are having early floods, then you having floods which are coming, which are absolutely not time for, whether it is Sri Lanka, whether it is Hyderabad in 2020, these, or it's Bangladesh. These floods which are coming are because it rains for 3-4 days together as if for a month. Like in the month of May, it rained in Delhi. For the full 1 month, rain came in a few days itself. So therefore, the floods are becoming more common, and so are the cyclones. Now, if you look at the cyclones, I think the last 3 years have been extremely bad for the country. Whether it was Fani in 2019 when we had, then we had a cyclone Amphan coming in 2020. And then in this year itself, we have had two, like last month we had Tokte, and then we have now cyclones Yas coming. What is these cyclones doing is they cause a huge amount of damage to the ecosystems. Like for example, I'll tell you, I was there in after 2019 Fani. I had visited Odisha to see the damage done. And you'll be surprised to know that more than a few million trees were down. Like wherever I went, no tree was left standing, and livelihoods were lost. Environmental system was totally damaged. So this is the kind of damage which this climate change and the cyclone is doing to the ecosystems, which we are trying to protect. And this is becoming, of course, a global phenomena. And on the one side, you are having these cyclones, and then the other side, you are having intense droughts. These intense droughts, what they're causing is, again, a lot of hardships. Desertification is happening at a lot of places now. If you go to the western coast, you go to the eastern coast, you go to the central part of the Deccan, you go to Maharashtra, Vidarbha region, in this intense droughts are happening. People have not seen rain for the last 10 to 15 years. So again, the ecosystem, which we are talking about restoration, comes under threat because of this climate challenge. So I'm not going to give a presentation on climate change because that'll take at least another 40 minutes. So I will be very briefly talking about the challenge, that why is this challenge very important? Because initially it was thought by a Paris agreement, we thought that by 21st century, it should be 2 degrees. But then the scientists said, no, it should be 1.5 degrees. Because if we exceed 1.5 degrees, we are in big trouble. So now the target is 1.5 degrees. We've already reached 1.1. So very little scope is left. And what I'm showing you now in this slide is the biggest question you have to think about today in this presentation. The target is 52 billion tons of greenhouse gases, which are present today in the atmosphere. It's a very big number, 52 billion tons. People said in COVID, due to COVID in 2020, things are better, but no, the emissions still grew. And the target is that by 2030, when we are talking about eco-restoration, these greenhouse gases have to come down to 25 billion. And by 2050, it should be net zero. So this is the way we have to move in case if we want to achieve our SDGs, we want to achieve a normal life. And this appears to be a very, very tough target, the way we are proceeding. In hardly 9 years, we have to go from 52 to 25 and that to net zero by 2050. So now how do we do it? Well, a very important role is being played by the people who are thinking about it. People like you who have joined today. It shows your interest in ecosystem restoration. It shows your interest in SDGs. It shows your interest in making life better for the humans. So I think people who are thinking, who are working on it, universities, colleges, these are the places we'll have to work. And because the technologies which we need to bring about the change are still in the labs. So we need innovation, we need technology, and as Vivekji said, a behavioral change. We will need to change the way we live, the way we work, the way we enjoy, basically the way we go about our life. We will have to change the way we work. Then is the only way we will be able to go ahead. And I will just briefly discuss in 2 minutes a story with you. This is a story of ecosystem restoration, because that's the topic of today, of reimagining, recreating, restore. So in this 2 minute story, you will see like how it is possible. It is not that everything gets lost. This is this beautiful brackish lake, probably the largest in Asia, and it's situated in Odisha. It's a paradise for birds, and you can say it's one of the very precious lakes for our country. In 1993, this lake had reached such a situation. It's a massive lake of more than 1,000 square kilometer. The situation had gone so bad that it was endangered in 1993. And that is the time when the government woke up. The NGOs wrote a lot of letters, think tanks wrote a lot of letters, and a lot of articles came in newspaper, a lot of pushback occurred. And then things started happening. What were the challenges? The challenges were, it was silting. The whole mouth was closed. People were cutting mangroves. So there was overfishing happening, rampant overfishing happening, and there were illegal fishing happening. So the catch was really going down. There was a lot of plastic pollution. You know, plastic, you can't help everywhere it is there. It's a lake which is very shallow. So there was plastic all over the place. And then, of course, the new hotels which have come up were also discharging. So overall, the story was very bad for the lake, and it was literally on the verge of collapsing. This is, I'm talking about in 1993. Then the government woke up, Chilka Development Authority was formed, and then, of course, the restoration work started. And now another challenge has been added to is climate change. If you see, the global oceans are heating about 0.12 every 10 years. Chilka Lake is heating at the rate of 0.39 every year, which is much higher than any other lake in the world. So this is going to create another problem of algal bloom for the place. So 2000, a lot of development happened and a lot of things were restored. How did the success happen? The success happened because of the ecological first restoration took place. IIT Madras, they took up the challenge. They developed a new silting plan. New mouths were opened. Seawater was again allowed to come inside. So the salinity of the whole water, because it's brackish waters, so it was maintained. And again, the fish started improving. Then the mangroves were restored, and people who were doing illegal fishing were stopped. The plastics were removed, and of course, the illegal discharges were stopped. So overall, ecological restoration took place. Then the second thing, good thing which happened was the social change which was brought about. Like if you go up to the north of Chilka, in that place, all these villages, they were hunters. So they would be hunting these birds which would be coming. And as you know, Chilka is one of the world's very well-known places for bird nesting and migration. So there was a huge amount of disturbance in the bird colonies because of these hunters. So they were retrained. So the NGOs as well as the government, they got together with these villagers, they retrained them, and they are now the people who are providing you the guide services. Now these people are running boats. I have visited them 3-4 times. And we have seen, I have gone around with them. They know how to take you around. And now they are earning their livelihoods by protecting the same birds which they were killing. And thirdly is the economic opportunities. The economic opportunities came because the health of the lake improved. The fish catch went up 5x times. 5 times it improved. Like you can imagine, like it was from 1, it went to 5. So now the villages, which are about 2 lakh villages are being supported by this lake. They are doing better. They are supporting a bigger population, and they are more wealthier also. So it's a success story. It got a couple of awards. But still you will say that yeah, people can write stories and people can tell stories. But I think I was very happy to hear this news last week. When I read this news, that 50,000 birds counted on Chilka Lake on May 25th. Now, birds cannot be influenced by media or by politics or by any of these things. Birds will only come in case they get feed, they get food, and they get a good place to nest and to bring more chicks up. So this is what the birds, so birds have voted. And this year we found more birds in Chilka Lake than we have found in any of the previous years. So the health of the lake is good. So this is a classic example of how a restoration can be done and how our bodies can be restored. And finally, I would like to only say it is all about intergenerational justice we are talking about. When we are talking about ecosystem restoration, we are talking about the future of the planet. Like all of us are safe, we save for our children, we try to build a better future for our children, but there's no future for the children going to be if there are no gardens, there are no free places, there are no places where we can have fun. And if we are, at least we should give them a planet which is in the same condition which was as we got it. So thank you very much for giving me this time to share my views. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aditya Pundi. You have made us aware of the challenges that we are facing in the form of cyclones and floods. And the way forward also, you have suggested us how innovation, technology, and behavior change can help us in bringing solutions for climate change. And the last tagline that you mentioned, it is time to reimagine, recreate, and restore. Right. So we'll keep in mind the takeaways that you have given us for this. And with this, may I now go forward to introduce our special guest of the day, Ms. Gitanjali and Jaya Kumar. Ms. Gitanjali and Jaya Kumar is an Indian Forest Service, Punjab Cadet senior officer with background in agriculture, forestry, and biodiversity. She is also an alumnus of Unita Simple Jeju and currently pursuing PhD at University of Helsinki, Finland. She also possesses flair for wildlife photography and social activism. So before I request Ms. Gitanjali, there is a request for all not to draw any lines on the screen. It's a kind request. Please don't draw any lines on the screen. So over to you, Ms. Gitanjali.
Thank you so much, and very good morning to you all. Very nice background has been set today by Aditya Pundi ji regarding the ecosystems restoration. So as a forest officer, I'm just going to, and a researcher now at the University of Helsinki, I want to share with you my thoughts regarding this ecosystem restoration. We all know we have two types of ecosystems, the natural, the man-made ecosystems. The natural ecosystems are the forests, the rivers, the lakes, the wildlife conservation areas, and so on. And the man-made habitats are our urban rural ecosystems, agricultural areas, and so on. In today's context, it is said that at least 30% of our earth should be preserved for these natural ecosystems to thrive, which is still not the case. We have a long way to go to bring more areas under conservation and keep them untouched. At least after this COVID episode, we realize how much vulnerable we are and how important it is to maintain undisturbed natural habitats. And even our urban and rural habitats, it has to be improved and made at least near natural. We can have some urban forests, we can have big parks, and the agricultural areas can be kept in a resilient way to offer different ecosystem services. We all know about ecosystem services, what are all we get from them for human welfare, the provisioning services, the cultural services, the supporting services. We all understand the importance of these things today. So it is our anthropogenic pressure, our the balance between our development and the conservation aspirations, which we can say. We all have aspirations to conserve. At the same time, we all have aspirations to develop infrastructures or houses and so on and so forth. So we need to bring about a balance in both. And that is the day we can bring about the restoration of ecosystems for the planet's health and the long-term survival. It's now, after the COVID, we realize it's our thriving, basically the human race to thrive. That is what at stake. Even if the whole human race is eliminated, this planet will be a better off place to thrive itself. So what is at question? It's the survival of the human race more than the survival of the planet, I will say. But if we need to survive, we need to keep the planet well. This is called the One Health approach. If I need to be healthy, I need to keep the planet healthy. So if we don't keep the planet healthy, we are not going to thrive. That is the realization we have after this COVID exactly. So these natural ecosystems, as well as man-made ecosystems, they need to be conserved, restored. Maybe I'll give you a small example from my experience in Punjab, just like what Aditya Pundi gave about Chilka. So this is to give you an example of how ecosystems can be. I'll just show you just 2 slides. Just a sec, sorry for the delay. I'm just going to give you a case of Abohar. Abohar is the only area in Punjab where we have these black bugs. This is an area adjoining Rajasthan. So this also has the Bishnoi population, which we all had about the original conservationists. These Bishnois have a tradition of conservation ingrained in them. So they used to have very eco-friendly accommodations and they followed organic agriculture. It was so much so forth, they didn't even burn their dead or cremate their dead because they'll have to use wood. They used to bury their dead and they have a tradition of, I'll just share my screen. They have a, can you see my screen now? Hello?
Yes, Ms. Gitanjali, we can.
Yeah, so I'm just showing it very briefly. I see so many colors on the screen. So colorful. UN decade of ecosystem restoration. Some kids are drawing, I think.
It's a request again. Please don't draw any lines on the screen.
How to take it off? Any way to rub it off?
Otherwise, we have to block the person who is drawing those lines on the screen.
Maybe some kid.
So the host can be not allow other people for the annotation, the annotate. It will allow people to draw something.
Because this will unnecessarily delay the session also.
Gitanjali,
yeah, I just move on.
The moderator should not allow, should close the chat toolbar of the annotate.
Rajiv, can you please remove?
You can open in the view option in the top right your hand, and you can click to the view option, and you don't allow the annotate.
Option NJ.
Yeah, keep doing. I just move on. So this is a case of Abahar in Punjab, I told you it's adjoining Rajasthan. And
Ma'am,
yeah,
Gitanjali, can you just
yeah,
stop your screen for a minute?
yeah, I stop the share.
Yeah, can you please stop your screen?
Yeah.
Just you can carry with your discussion in
Yeah,
the
I
mean.
can carry with your discussion. So it is like the blackbuck is the flagship species here, and the dominant community of the people living here is Bishnois. These Bishnois were traditionally a conserving community. We know the 300 years back, a lady called Amrita Devi led a movement, and she chipcoed the Kedri trees without being cut by the king's men. And even these Bishnoi women, they are said they even feed their own milk to the orphan black bucks. Such was their spirit of conservation. But if I see today in that area, there are a lot of conflicts today, and the ecosystems are degrading. Earlier, it used to be like there used to be a lot of wild habitats, the sand dunes, huge stretches of sand dunes between the agricultural lands. And these black bugs and other wild animals used to reside in those wild habitats, and they used to come to the crop fields for a little bit nib of the crops or something, but they didn't eat the crops much. They used to eat the weeds, and they used to fertilize the crop fields and move on. So the people used to think, if the blackbird grazes my field, I'm going to get a better share of crop this year. So that was their belief. But today they feel that they should cultivate more lands and reduce the wilderness. So the tibbas are just plowed, and the agriculture areas are being expanded, and the quinoa crop has come with the irrigation facility coming to this area, and they have taken to a lot of cotton, the commercial crops, and a lot of fertilizers and pesticides are being pumped in, and they moved from having the desi cow to the hybrid cows. So the desi cows, the bull cows were useful. They used to use them in agriculture, and with the hybrid cows coming in, you are not able to use them for agriculture, and they are just let out astray. And to prevent these stray cattle from coming in their fields, because they don't eat any animals, so they let them live, but they don't want them to come and graze their fields, so they have the fences. And the simple fencing slowly turned to cobra fencing. The cobra fencing is a deadly wire. When these animals hit against these fences, they get so wounded. And there were a lot of stray dogs now roaming the area, and when these stray dogs chase these animals, they go and bang against this wire, and they really get injured. So it's a really pathetic situation, you can say. Like the wild habitats, that area is a sanctuary. 13 villages have been declared as a sanctuary, and 4 other villages in the surroundings where the black bucks are seen have been declared as a community reserve. But in actual, if you see, it's like more of an agriculture area, and now very less animals. Earlier there were herds of hundreds of blackbucks grazing together. People used to enjoy and cherish them, but now they're struggling to
And if you want to share your screen, please continue. Yeah.
Okay. So I will maybe just show random slides. I can't show you all the slides now. Are you able to see my screen? Can you see the PPT screen now?
That is in process. Yeah, now
It's in process. Okay.
Screen is visible now. Yeah.
Okay. So the present conflict. So the present conflicts, as I told you, it's like the change in habitat, and the habitat is fragmented, and the increasing human population, and so on. So now what I feel is, to restore these habitats, we need to have a collective and participatory method to learn and find solutions, because the lands are owned by the people, not by the government. So you have to take them in consideration if you need these wild habitats. So it has to be strategy, you call that co-initiating a collective intent. The local people, the forest managers, all should have a collective intent, and then work towards finding the solutions together. So that is the way we can move forward to restore these habitats. So these are the people's views, which I told you. Like, people want the black bugs. They sometimes say, can't you take these animals to the zoo? Like, here the stray dogs are killing them. But they don't realize these black bugs, for them to survive, they need these wild habitats. So these are sort of practical questions we need to look upon when we talk of habitat restoration. And the conservation has to be just. It is not that the few people will pay the cost of conservation. If we want to conserve the black bugs and the wilderness, it is not only these farmers that they should face the entire burden of conservation on them. So we need to find a way that we can balance it. All the people who enjoy the benefits of this ecosystem. If you see the ecosystem services of this area, there may be some local users and there may be some global users. Conserving the habitats here will help you solve the climate crisis and so on. So if you see the ecosystem services, the range varies from the local use to the global use. So we have to find a way. So this is the targeted model of conservation. Right now, the area is only producing crops, but it has to deliver multifaceted ecosystem services like other provisioning services, regulating services, cultural services, and so on. So we need to find out very innovative ways. Some of the approaches I have in mind are the land sharing and the land sparing approach, we call. So if some farmers can be incentivized for turning to organic cropping or agroecology. Agroecology is a more comprehensive system which provides various ecosystem services from the same piece of land. And the other is the land sparing approach, where some wilderness can be left alone, and how we can compensate the people for them. Now there are a lot of schemes around the globe, like payments for ecosystem services and so on. So in India also, we'll have to start thinking on these lines. If we want to restore our ecosystems, so there are different ways. And as we already said, we don't have 30 or 33% of undisturbed natural ecosystems yet. In India, we have 23% of forest and only 5% of the geographical area under protected areas. And in Punjab, where I work, it is just, we have 3% of the area under forest and 1% of the area under protected areas. And even in those protected areas, there are so much of conflicts to conserve. So if you want to increase the area from 1% to 33%, there is no other way except that people will share some of their own lands. And people will share their own lands only if they get some benefit out of that area, just like the case of Chilka, where Aditya Pundi presented. If people get some income maybe from the wildlife tourism or something, then they may be able to share their lands, or we will have to compensate them by providing a compensation from the government kitty, from the own tax, because all of us enjoy those services. So we need to think a lot. It's a long way to go. That's what my concern is. We are nowhere near in restoring our degraded ecosystems. So it's long way if you think from this 1% to 33%, and that's what worries me. So, but now it's very good. We all have started thinking about it. And when we put our heads together, thoughts together, when there is a will, there will always be a way. Soon, I hope we'll find our way to restore our degraded ecosystems. So I think my time is up. I'll stop here. If you have any questions at the end, we can.
Thank you, Ms. Gitanjali. We'll come up with the question answers towards the end of the program. And
Yes.
what a great way that you have shared with us collective participatory learning to finding solutions with collective intent. I think this is what we have to do if we have to bring change in climate change. So thank you so much, Ms. Gitanjali, and we'll go ahead with introducing our guest of honor, Ms. Dia Andrea Wordley. Ms. Dia Andrea Wordley is an environmentalist and has worked with various organizations, namely Swiss Recycling, Zurich, Switzerland, World Economic Forum, Davos, Switzerland, International Solid Waste Association, Vienna, Austria, UN Environment, Osaka, Japan, Sophie Sustainability Leaders, Mumbai, India, Zero Waste Store, Zurich, Switzerland, AMPA, a Swiss Federal Laboratories for Material Science and Technology, St. Gallen, Switzerland. In March 2019, she founded an association named Social Impact Startup, Eco Work, that works in Switzerland as well as in India, and for which she is also the president. In April 2018, Andrea had participated in an international training on strengthening governance for low carbon integrated solid waste management and circular economy at Universal Jeju, South Korea. So with this, may I now request Ms. Andrea Worley to please give the special address.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here and talk about my project. Let me share with you my screen. All right, can you see it in presentation mode?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yeah, we are able to see the screen.
Perfect. So I will talk to you a bit about some projects and initiatives that I did in the recent years. And I will start with the one that Hitesh already mentioned about EcoWork, which is a project in Switzerland. We have an association, an NGO in Switzerland, but we have the project will be implemented in India, in Delhi, and it tackles the issue of electronic waste. So as you can see on the picture, here, this shows you how electronic waste is dismantled. Most of the electronic waste is dismantled in India. It's usually done on the ground with no protection equipment, no tools, no machines, and the electronic waste contains a lot of hazardous materials, and how they do it, they're prone to accidents. A lot of health issues come with that through breathing in dust particles, for example, or once you break something open, it has sometimes mercury in it, which is very toxic. And our goal is to find a way how we can work together with these people to make their work safer and healthier for them, but also for the environment. So as I said, their work is polluting, it's unhealthy and unsafe, and it's not very efficient how they do it, because they have to take every single device, they break it open and separate it into different components. But what they do is very essential work, because they contribute to a circular economy, and they make sure that the material that we use gets back to be used in production again. And then we can avoid through that primary resource extraction. So there's a change needed, and the question is, how do we do it? And our goal is to set up a facility, as you can see on the picture, where we provide the safe infrastructure, we provide training and education to them, we support them in their business development, and they in turn, they can come to our facility and rent a working table or storage spaces, and they can work in that sense in a safe and environment, which is in line with the regulations, so they don't have to have the threat of business closure, and they can also develop their business, and we bring dignity and respect to what they do. We do that not just by telling them, oh, here is the facility and please come to our place and do it this way. We try to set up the facility in collaboration with them. So currently we are doing a lot of exchanges with these informal workers. We held workshop that was before lockdown here in the pictures, where we brought them to an empty facility and we let them tell us how would they design the facility. So we actually know what is important to them and what do we need to consider. Because if they not agree and if they don't see the value in it, they will at the end not come, and then there is no change. So it's very important to do it in a collaborative, participatory approach. And with EcoWork, we aim on or work on 3 SDGs, which is responsible consumption and production, through safe resource recovery and closure of material chain, decent growth and economic growth through decent job creation, entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation. And the last SDG is sustainable cities and communities through reduced pollution and business opportunities. So this is one project that I'm currently working on, which is implemented in India. And now I'm talking to you about some other initiatives that I did. The next one, this one is a zero waste store in Switzerland, which I founded just after I finished my studies at ETH. And where usually people go off and work for a company, I decided to open up my own business to bring more sustainability in the consumption patterns of Swiss people. So the idea is, here you can see on the picture, the store just before the opening. That was 4 years ago. And the idea is that we provide food, a grocery shop in that sense, but the food is all produced organically, if possible, locally. And we buy in big bags, so we can actually fill them up and people can come with their glass containers and they can fill the food in their glass containers and they don't produce any waste. So for the consumers, there is no plastic waste. And for us, it's only little waste because we can buy in bigger quantities. And I'm just showing here some pictures. So that was how the store looked before. So we had to paint and we had to organize everything. And I just want you to know that at the beginning, doing such a project, it might be very time consuming. It needs a lot of energy. It needs also a lot of financing. And I remember my parents, for example, telling me, but come on, you cannot invest all your money in this. But I thought I had to do something. I had to bring more sustainability and change into society. And I did it nonetheless. And luckily it worked out well. So the store is still alive. We managed to bring the business running. And here you can see some of the picture, how it looked during the opening days. I'm not anymore involved in the business of the store. I handed it over to someone else because I didn't have the time anymore with all the work that I do and with the other initiative in India. However, I still go there and do my groceries there. Now let me tell you about some biodiversity initiatives. When I started my studies at ETH Zurich, there were some other students who took the initiatives who thought like it would be nice to have a community garden. And on the picture here in the background, you see ETH building, and in front, the ETH campus gave us some land, and we started digging up the soil. We started planting seeds, just with other students. Very simple, very easy, because as a student, you don't have the big finances, but we got the land from ETH, and we were able to just start our own garden and producing our own food. And the garden is open to everyone, so you don't have to be a student. You can be a small kid, as you can see here in the picture, or you can be a grandfather. It doesn't matter. It's for everyone. And yeah, you can see here how it developed on the upper picture. It really started to become also a community space where people can come and have a fire and talk. We organized courses on the very right. You can see someone explaining us how we have to cut the trees so that we can also learn how to cultivate a garden. Here is a very recent project. I started this just this year with a friend. We found a piece of land which is on quite a slope, and you can see on the sketches we try to like show how the water should flow, so we don't have too much water or too less water. And the idea of this is to increase the biodiversity there, because as you can see, it's just grass growing there, nothing much, no bushes, no trees. So we started with taking some samples of the soil to see how wealthy the soil is and what's in there. And then just a couple of months ago, we started digging up and we planted the first trees. And I hope you can see in some years, I can show you some pictures, how this is like full with bushes and birds and insects. At the moment, it still looks like very bare and with little plants growing. But I just also want to show you once more, you can do with little things, you can start and you can really try and increase biodiversity wherever you are living. And another example now for India, back in February 2020, I was there and I participated in a raw food festival where we cooked a meal for a retirement party for 600 people in Jalandhar. And the idea is also to understand or make people aware of what you're eating is what you are. So your body takes up whatever food and nutrition you give to your body. So be aware of where does your food come from and what do you eat. And this is the Ccac, the initiatives that organized it. It's founded by Deepak Ashwani, and he has a website also. So please, if you have time, check it out. He also makes podcasts and talks about more on how you can free yourself from greed and simplify your life. And for those interested, there is a Raw Life celebration from 16th to 21st of June, and you can apply until the 9th of June. So I very much recommend that if you have the time, try it. It's really very inspiring to talk to Deepak and to also get to know this lifestyle of trying to simplify your life and what it can bring to you. With that, I end my presentation. So thank you very much for listening. And if you have further questions to any of the initiative or want to know anything more, I'm always open. So please just reach out.
Yeah, Dia will take the questions towards the end of the program, as we have kept a separate time for question and answers. And it was good to see the way you are doing community engagement and awareness programs on e-waste and solid waste management, and the way you showed certain projects which were relating to guiding people on creating a zero waste store and building tree gardens, which is related to biodiversity, and many other different initiatives. So I think we need to keep another session for you in which you can show the other projects also.
Sure.
So thank you so
very
much.
much.
Yeah. So thank you. And going ahead, let me introduce you to our next guest of honor, Dr. Thu Bu Huo. She is Senior Advisor Environment and Climate Change with FHI 360 Australia, and having over 20 years of experience in high impact multidisciplinary science, policy program development and implementation, cross-sector partnerships in the field of climate change, sustainability and natural resource management. She is PhD in climate governance, Endeavour Awardee, University of Melbourne, Australia, and MSc in environmental science, Fulbright Scholar, Yale University, USA. She is having a global experience in diverse projects and providing technical leadership in climate change and energy, biodiversity conservation, natural resource management, and environmental pollution. She is leading design, implementation, and quality assurance of environment and climate change activities. Dr. Thu Boo Hoon is growing FHI 360's Asia Pacific environment and climate change practice areas, including business development, research, and thought leadership. And let me share it with you, the kind of versatile experience Dr. Thu is having. I was amazed to see the global experience she is having of different countries and different areas. So over to you, Doctor.
Thank you. First of all, let me say a sincere thanks to the organizers and really congratulations to the event. We have 390 people online right now. Thank you for those who joined today. It's a Saturday to celebrate the World Environment Day. So yeah, thanks for your attention. That was a very long bio, but yeah, I've been in this space for a long time, and I like to share a few thoughts and experience on the World Environment Day. Oh yeah, thanks for showing the slide. So we have speakers, Mr. Aditya Pundi, talking about climate change, putting us in a really wider picture of sustainable development. And, we hear from Biodiversity Conservation, from our guest speaker, Gisam Jali, and a lot of interesting projects from Dee. I'm really excited. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about restoration. As we know, the degradation of land and marine ecosystems threatens the well-being of 3.2 billion people on Earth. And land degradation has negative impacts on biodiversity, ecosystems. And that is why I think the UN has named this decade of ecosystem restoration. So we have 10 years to heal the planet. So what will that take? Let me share some of the stories. Next, please. Now, I'm leading FHI's Environment and Climate Change Initiative. These are some of the, figures. I'm not going to read it out. You heard that before. This region is the out of the top 20 countries most impacted by, sea level rise. We have 12 in this region. So FHI's ECC, we call it Environment and Climate Change Program. We're prioritizing environment and climate change opportunities. And, started out as an international NGO, but we realized the gravity of the issues and would really like to engage with, companies, agencies, and practitioners like you in this region. Next, please. So when you see this slide, you see Cinderella at the background. And it's like, is she going to talk fairy tales? Yes, indeed. If you think about Cinderella's job, like in the household, she cleaned ashes from the fireplace. This is exactly the role that forests play for Earth, absorbing the carbon emissions released from atmosphere. And not only that, she also draw water from wells, gather food and fuel, and perform many other duties. And this is the same functions and services that forests provide us. Not only that, forest is a home for 1.6 billion people, and a livelihood of 1.6 billion people. Employment in the formal sector, informal sector. If you think about the if you put a dollar figure on forest, it's 175 to 100 billion a year. Now, if you look at India, I give a figure on India here. You have 700 million people depend on forests, and a lot of them, 250 million are indigenous people and tribal people. And so deforestation is, when you think about climate change, is the second leading cause for global warming. And so when you think about restoration, obviously we talk about ecosystem, about land and sea, but here I would like to focus on forest, because when you think about forest, research already shows that for every dollar invested in restoring degraded forest, a return of between $7 and $30 and economic benefits can be expected. Next. So these are some of the example of restoration for example, this is farming in China. This is the photo of the Loess Plateau when over 2.5 million people have already improved the economic outlook. It doubled farmers' income, diversify employment from the revitalization of the degraded plateau. And this is a graph showing you that with environmental income, poverty rates could be much higher in tropical forest landscapes. So here we have South Asia and East Asia. And with environmental income, the poverty, so you see the orange part is with environmental income, the poverty level would be a lot lower than without environmental income. Next. Yeah, I mean, this is another example of mangroves in Senegal. In a lot of countries in Asia Pacific, mangroves is very, very important ecosystems. And if you think about the business case for these investors that already put in money to generate 500,000 tons of carbon offsets over its 30 years lifetime. And I think our colleagues also before talk about the benefit of biodiversity, and here we have, fish stocks and, adding to the livelihood improvement of local people. Next. So this is another, I call it a signature project for World Vision. It's a farmer regenerated managed natural regenerations. This is a project in Habo in Ethiopia, and it began in 2006 and will continue until 2036. And the communities here have already regenerated over almost 3,000 hectares of degraded land and sequestered 165 tons of carbons, generating over 500,000 US dollars from the World Bank Carbon Fund. Now, not only the economic benefit, but people also talk about, they use the money from carbon sequestration to build green stores, build solar panels. Social capital is enriched through knowledge exchange. So there are plenty of benefits. As you can see here, this is the picture of the changes in the landscape, and the top right picture is the aerial photo of the same area. Next. So I'm going to share another kind of experience from my hometown in Vietnam. As you know, Vietnam used to be the poorest country in the world. Now it is the middle income country, and in the 80s, well, I'm not going back to the 80s, but if you look at the by 2020, 84% of the poor will be exclusively ethnic minorities. But then people will ask, so what, apart from China, no country in the world has undergone such a rapid transformation in the recent decades. And the poverty already reduced 60% between 90s to the 2014. And people ask the question, how and why? Let's go to the next slide, please. So now if you put it in the forestry context, the forest cover declined from 43% to 27% between 1943 and 1990s. And this is because of the impact from the war. And then the target will be 45% of forest cover in 2020. In early 2021, Vietnam has overtaken China as the largest furniture exporter to the US. And tree plantations make the major contribution to livelihoods of more than 1.4 million rural Vietnamese livelihoods. Not only that, but it supports the global competitive wood chip and furniture export businesses. and also provide a range of environmental and social benefits. Of course, this is still controversial whether people are talking about natural regenerations or the kind of plantation of monoculture plantations. We don't have to go into these details, but let's tell this story today on the plantation forest. Next slide, please. This is a successful story. I interview hundreds of households in the Central Highlands. And this is a household out of the successful story that we came across. He made a net income of, I use Australian dollars here, but it's probably about 20,000 US a year from selling timber only. He hired 10 permanent workers, 30 seasonal workers, and he contributed to the social welfare of not only his own family, but also of the community. He's very active in knowledge sharing. But then you also hear a story from this ethnic minority who has a lot less land in the other family. The other family may have owned about 10 to 20 hectares. This family has about 2 hectares, and they make an annual income of about 2,000 or maybe 1,500 US dollars a year. So this is just to show that, plantation, next slide, please. Plantation forest regenerations is a success story in Vietnam, lifting millions of people out of poverty. And when you look at that, it's not only the economic benefits, it's not only the livelihood, the finance, security, but also it produced social psychological benefits. When you talk to people, people talk about hope, for future, better future for the family, bigger wedding, and importantly, they talk about the self-esteem, the confidence, and the social status without the community. And in a lot of places, we observe positive effects on landscape. Of course, there are other negative effects on biodiversity when you talk about monoculture, water quantity and quality. Next, please. I'm not going to read this list, but this is the, talk about reimagining. We talk about nature-based solutions at local level. These are some of the things that we can do, projects can do, new initiatives can focus on. And if you look at Build Back Better or Build Back Greener initiatives, funding has already been allocated in the EU to look at nature-based solutions. And some of the things that project or we can look at is, protecting restoring forest areas, working with mangroves, educating, and like Mr. Aditya Pundi pointed out at the beginning, it's about innovation, technology, and behavior change. Next, please. So yes, this is the last slide. I would like to here. This is the platform for youth. I would like to encourage you to get active. We hear a lot about climate change. We hear a lot about environmental impacts. But let's not get anxious. This is a message from the UN. Let's be bold and not timid. Engage in nature-based solutions. So yeah, thank you for having me, and questions and answers, I guess, will come later.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thuba. And we were very happy to see the kind of projects you have done, and the ongoing projects also, like one of the projects that you mentioned was World Vision Bumbo Forestry Project and sustainable farming in China. So again, this also requires another session for you, and maybe we'll plan it some other time also, in which we have a special session for you also on this particular topic. So thank you so much, and we'll come back to you with question answers towards the end of the program. So let me now introduce you to our keynote speaker of the day, Dr. T. Camilla Intan. Dr. T. Camilla Intan is founder of Grahakina Foundation, Indonesia, and lecturer with Medical School University of North Sumatra, Medan. A UNITA-SIFL Jeju alumni with more than 3 decades of experience, she has worked on diversified projects naming Japan Education and Cultural Exchange Exhibition, Grant Ambulance and Disabled Transportation by Nippon Foundation, Head of Project Takakura Composting in Medan City, Head of Work Plan for Reduction of SLCPs from Municipal Solid Waste Management in Medan City, Indonesia, Grahakina Foundation, IGES, CCAC, MSW Medan City, Coordinator of Project for Water Environment Improvement in the Delhi River Basin of North Sumatra Province. She always believes in knowledge sharing, and in recent COVID-19 times, she has shared her knowledge being as a guest speaker on the second MKC online course, Resilient City, Metro Kita Center, Lampung Province, Indonesia, and the speaker workshop on Environmental Education Project for Water Environment Improvement in the Delhi River Basin of North Sumatra Province. With this, may I now invite Dr. T. Kamala Intan to please give the keynote address.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Best greeting from Medan, Indonesia. It is an honor to attend this webinar by the APSWDP and Royal College of Bhutan. Are you going to show the my PPT from you, or yeah, okay. Thank you. So, dear honorary speakers, organizing team, and participants, it is this moment I would like to share experiences in 10 years concerning to the point of SDG related to the climate action. So if you, next slide, please. I think this is a bit of my CV, and on the next slide, and 3 also already mentioned by the moderator, so we can see to the next slide 4. And yes, move to the next slide, please. Yes, okay, in 1998, I established the Grahakina Foundation. So we conduct the School of Economic and School of Law, and we already have alumni, about 4,000 students right now, alumni. Next, please. And then the second foundation is Salsabila. It is the level of education, kindergarten and primary school since 2000 and 2005. Next, please. Well, my activity since then, I work as a social workers in the communities to educate and raise the capacity building by formal and informal educations. Slide. And then we can see that those motivated me to educate as legacy through educations, and based on these SDGs from 17th SDGs point. So me and my team focus and agree on the 6 points of these issues of the SDG. And fortunately, we have been doing it for 10 years. Slide, please. Okay, so this is the Indonesians related SDG from the point 3, 4, 6, 7, 13, and 17. And I think we already work some of these goals in Indonesia, and supported this point of SDG through our project, especially in Medan City. Next, please. Well, as you know, Indonesia, my country, because of their geographical topography and climate aspects, a lot of the city also are affected directly, and problems of solid waste system management that are caused by GHG. Slide, please. And we can see also this problem we have facing right now in Medan. Next, please. So I bring up to my city. I live in Medan. It is a capital north of Sumatra province and has an area around 265 kilometers square. It is the fourth largest city by population in Indonesia after Jakarta, Surabaya, and Bandung, and with a total population around 2.2 million people that is based on the statistics 2016. And then this city located on the northeastern coast of North Sumatra province, and then you can see it is very close to Malaysia and also Singapore, less than 1 hour by airplane. Next, please. And this is the conditions of our city. That city or regency are divided into sub-district. We call it kecamatan, and then sub-district further divided into administrative villages. We call it kelurahan, and then its administrative village is then divided into community associations. We call it rukun warga, and then the rukun warga divided into smaller units of neighborhood associations, which is called rukun tetangga. So rukun tetangga is the lowest level administrative hierarchy for local governments in Indonesia. And then typically consists of 30 to 50 households, which is dense populations. And then all this we can see at the regulation of the Ministry of Domestic Affairs number 7 in 1983 on the establishment of the community association. So Medan city itself consists of 21 sub-districts, 151 administrative villages, and 2,000 households. Next, please. So Medan city itself, they have a target for sanitation strategy. And I share here the data based on our research that we can see the local government actually have a target, but the current status actually show that the target hasn't been achieved. So they have targets 100% to cover the waste collection, but the data shows us that no accurate data available on collection coverage. Also, that waste that goes the target to landfill is reduced by 10%, but actually was wasted dumped at landfill in 2016 was approximately 1.577 tons a day. And also about the city budgets and then the initiate operation of control landfill, still open dumping until now, and then to stop illegal dumping in drainage and river and open area, also no accurate data available. Even though this condition also under the presidential regulations and then others regulation. So this table shows us that if we comparison of populations with the estimate waste generation, because starting a few years ago, I worked for the waste generation in Medan city. We can see that from the 21 kecamatan district, the highest population are in the Medan Deli and then the Medan Marelan. So these two districts, we can also, it is the largest waste produced in the district Medan Deli and Medan Marelan. And that is why our project location is at the two district. Slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so based on that data, so in 2013, we collaborate the Yayasan Salsabila funding by the JICA to improvement of waste management in Medan City via household composting. So this JICA grassroots project of starting in 2030 and then until 2015, we also collaborate with the Bureau of the Environment local Medan City and then distribute this Takakura basket to the home communities. So 200 compost basket to household in Sicanang area, Medan Belawan district, and about 100 basket surrounding in Salsabila. In the current assessment, a follow-up survey was conducted targeting the Salsabila community to investigate the status of implementation of home composting after 3 or 4 years. And the total number respondents were 49, and then the survey revealed that only 2 respondents were continuing composting at home since they received the composting basket, while others stopped using the tools mostly within the 3 months. And the low rate of the continuation was considered to be due to the fact that the communities were initially expecting that the compost would be purchased by the government, but this did not happen and participants lost motivation. Slide, please. Next, please. Okay, so through this project, we promote the composting Takakura system surround the neighborhood of the Salsabila foundations, and then also to the primary school, and then for the teacher, and then also we promote the household composting Takakura system at the urban area for housewife and then women's from the low socio-economic level. And then also we built the waste bank that is belong to the women's community in Salsabila. Next, please. And this is one of our grassroots project that received by the Japanese government. This clinic is for women and children, especially related to environment health. So I educate the women around the neighborhood how to prevent health issue, and then how to maintain the health of the kids. And then this is one of the also grant from ambulance from the Nippon foundations we received in the 2016. Next, please. So the next project is work plan for reduction of Lsdp from Municipal Solid Waste Management in Medan City, collaboration the Grahakina Foundation with IJES, Ccac, MSW at the Medan City government. And next, please. Okay, so the work plan began in 2017 until 2018, and starting in January with a literature review, consulting meeting, and small workshop, visit, interview, blah, 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 and then a follow-up activity until the December 2018. Slide, please. Next slide. And from the research and survey, we can see this is the typical outlook of the temporary waste collection in Medan City, and it is still until now like this. And then this is the final disposal waste. It is still open dumping landfill, and then it is running like this. And we have the scheme, and we propose to the local government in Medan City how to collect the waste from the household community, and then how to collect to the TPS, and then finally to the TPA. Slide, please. And result of this research, we put in this table how status and challenges would be, and how challenge and opportunity should be. So we already put this and publish it in a work plan for the local government. but still we don't know if the government conduct all these results or still just put it just for a literature. Next, please. And during the project, we also visit and collect data from the West Bank, belong to the community. And then we collaborate with the Environment Bureau from the North Province, Sumatra. And then also we do the workshop for the women's and from the high society community. And then also we visit the hospital to collect data, and then also we visit the recycle small corporation belongs to the community. Slide, please. Yes, and then this is all the summary of our project, and we propose activity how to the future of Medan Zero Waste City. So by this activity, we already have a work plan for the local government, how to reduce the Lsdp by the management of the solid waste in the municipal area from 2019 and for 2025. And you can find it in the published by the IGES website. And then the project that is still running now is the environmental education project for water environment improvement in Delhi River Basin of Natsumata Province. Starting April 2018 to April 2022. Actually, it's already finished in April 2021, but due to COVID, so we have 1 more year to go because all the team could not visit Medan. So this partnership for the goals funding by the JICA and then supported collaboration with the University of Kitakyushu from the Japanese team, City of Kitakyushu, IGES, NPO Satuyama, and Shinryo Corporation. And then for the counterpart from Indonesian is the University of North Sumatra and Grahakina Foundation. This is some photo when the rector visit the Kitakyushu University, and then when we also signed the MOU with the Bureau of the...
Yes, Camilla, sorry for interrupting. We are going beyond the time. May I now request you to please conclude your keynote address?
Yeah. So this is the aim of the project, and then next please, next please. And then this is the aim of the project, and then next please. Yes, this is the output. So we put the problem-based learning for the education. Next please. Next please. And then this the scheme of the work plan between the Japanese and the Indonesian government university. And then this is the case study by the book Midori no Kote Kitakyushu, based on the problem-based learning. So they have like you know, a problem-based learning. The river in Kitakyushu. Next please. Next please. And then next slide please. And then we choose 5 schools. Which is in the river basin of the river Delhi, and then there are 5 schools with 150 students. So we do the composting and then manage the quality of the water. Next, please. And then we had a teacher's training in Japan in 2018. Next, please. And then this is some of the activity 2 years back, survey with the student from the school, and then also how to survey and then presentation, the collect survey that we've been doing with the student. Next, please. And then this is all the students, and then this is the manager project, Professor Matsumoto from the Kitakyushu University and Ibu Indiriari Rahman. And then we have also international conference on research collaboration. This is the 2nd one, just last April, and then there will be the 3rd next year. So hopefully we can share our experience, and I thank you for this opportunity and having me.
Thank you
so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Camilla. It was nice to listen to you, the way you shared about Medan city conditions, challenges, and the initiatives taken by your organization on solid waste management. So we'll again come back to you during question answers session. So thank you so much. With this, we have completed our first part of the program, and now let's go to the next session, in which we have 5 youth speakers, and the discussion would be on understanding and exploring indigenous knowledge on biodiversity, conservation, and climate change, case studies and experiences from South Asian nations. So the youth speakers from different countries, they'll be sharing the case studies and experiences. So with this, may I now introduce you to our first youth speaker of the day, Ms. Elsie Gabriel. Ms. Elsie Gabriel is founder president, Young Environmentalists Program Trust, and national coordinator, Oceans Climate Reality Project India. She is ambassador for Indian Ocean Quest Global International, founder, Young Environmentalists Program, national coordinator, Oceans Climate Reality Project, founder, co-chairperson, Ocean Schools India, an award-winning author, environmentalist, climate change advocate, global speaker, trained by former Vice President of USA, Al Gore. When she is not connecting the anthropological discoveries to the globe, she is diving, researching on oceans climate change as a PADI certified driver, with expertise in environment law and mass communications, researching on climate change and ocean communities. Ms. Elsie Gabriel, over to you now to share your case studies and experiences.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible, Rajiv?
Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
All right, start my slides, just a few seconds each. Congratulations, Vivek, and the entire community here gathered here today to celebrate the World Environment Day. And I cannot see the slides. Rajiv, have you commenced sharing them? Yes, thank you. So this is a personal glimpse, just a short glimpse on our story that, you know, the work that we're doing where the oceans are concerned. And of course, the SDG 14, as all of us know, it does focus on ocean conservation and the life below water. So what happens when you get, you know, the quote from Sylvia Earle, my mentor in the ocean world, is when you get a diver, a deep sea diver, researching on oceans, and this is what the documentation that we aim at, gathering from all over the world. So this is what you get when you get a deep sea diver. So having been certified as a deep sea diver in Australia, PADI, I took the opportunity to convert all the research areas in over 23 ocean habitats all over the world, which is right from Madagascar to Maldives to Mauritius. And in South America, that would be Brazil and Ecuador, Galapagos Islands, studying the community there. And then coming back closer to home, right, diving in Andamans, Neil Islands, Havelock Islands, and Chiriatapu, and also diving in Kerala with the Kerala Tourism Board. And then again in Chennai, as well as in Lakshadweep Islands. And again, of course, very own Maharashtra, Sindhudurg area is a large area where our coastal regions are there, and we have a lot of dive centers, which we want the world to know more about. So, and of course, having dived in Bali, and as well as Thailand and Singapore and, you know, Malaysia and Australia, of course, the Great Barrier Reef. So what I did was transformed my journey as a deep sea diver into collecting research on 3 basic topics, which is so relevant to today's restoration, ecological restoration. Of course, nobody should get left out. And of course, the ocean should not get left out. So documenting and researching all over the world in over 23, ocean habitat. The next slide, please. We are focusing on basically three things is studying. I mean, when you tell, I'm also an educationist and, talking and a global speak on climate change, being the national coordinator for Climate Reality Project India, we focus mostly on education for the youth. So my focus is mostly on the youth. And then what happens is that when the youth, or when I've been talking to them this whole week, in fact, when we talk about the United Nations, proclamation this year for 2021, being, ecological restoration, they get a little overwhelmed. I mean, it's a huge, huge, vast topic. So what are the areas and where can they start is the question that I get thrown at, So what we're focusing is on micro identification of your backyard, where we can start wherever you are in the world. We tell all our people all over the world, all our students all over the world, and all our divers all over the world, that you can always start in your backyard. So we do work from top to bottom and bottom up approach in many of our other research programs. But here what we're trying to do is trying to narrow down where you can identify your own problem areas where the ocean is concerned. And like I said, no one should get left behind, and so shouldn't the ocean get left behind. Of course, when we talk about ecological restoration, it's just not the forests and the peat areas and all the areas that we have in the biodiversity of the forest, the mountains, and so the oceans, of course, we all know are one of the largest sink areas, carbon sink areas. And if UN has decided that, it has, of course, methodologically proclaimed that we have 10 years, 2020 to 2030. Next slide, please. I mean, I say there is no time. We're running out. I mean, the oceans, of course, is absolutely vast, and it does cover the entire, especially India. We are a peninsula, and we are focusing more on the peninsula of India, coming back to our home topic. And so what happens is that we need to identify our own backyard, number one. Number two, what we are doing on our projects is focusing on the youth education. So how can they become ocean activists? How can they become ocean educationists? How can they take on a journey for the ocean restoration system for the next 10 years? Next slide, please. And of course, the UN has also said hashtag, generation restoration. So generation restoration is our youth, our young adults need to be educated and need to be well equipped. And where can they start? So they can start from their own backyard. And so we focus on identification of the zone where we are going to work on and where we are already working on. And then the areas of which need conservation. And of course, conservation may be going on, but then we do not want the other areas, we all know that coastal developments is the biggest hurdle to ocean restoration. That's the biggest hurdle that we've identified on our calendar for 2021, in fact. And we feel that coastal developments are the biggest hurdle that we're going to be facing this year. So this is a simple narration of the areas that we work in. And then, of course, as deep sea divers, we train and we educate, and we are, the ocean is our classroom. So that's the journey I'd like to share with you. The ocean is our classroom, and the marine habitat and the communities are our people, and we include them as faculty. That is the fishermen. We have a very strong community of fishermen, joining us, and they are a part of our faculty, and we use them. Next slide, please. As our, part of the, project for ocean restoration. So what happens is, next slide, please. So like I said, we focus on the youth, the women, and the problem area of where we are to restore the area. And then again, the fishermen community. And if you scrutinize the, SDG 14 further into 14.2, 14.3, 14.4, and so on, very well outlined. So this is what we get across to the various segments, just not the youth. The youth, we do give an educational modules, but then we use it practically down to people who are uneducated. Here you can see in the slide, we have the fishermen community in the Lakshadweep Islands, where we document and we take our classroom to the ocean, where we hold 3 hours at outdoor classrooms. As an author of the book called Get Out, Get Going Outdoors, I'm a strong exponent of holding the classroom at site, on the field, till our youth do not feel and see the ocean and, you know, dive under the ocean and see the fishermen, see the communities, observe, document, research, map, and then collect data. And that's how they're going to move forward and know what they're actually going to be restoring. So over the last 2 years, I mean, in fact, it has been brilliant, where some areas that we've been working in, like Lakshadweep and Andamans, have been green zone areas for India, particularly. I'm from Mumbai. So through video conferences and through webinars, we've been able to conduct over 100 ocean cleanups in very minute segments, right from mangroves to marsh areas to the fishermen areas, and of course the ocean beach, which are there for recreation and for the public and the habitat. So it's been a very good year for 2020 for the ocean recovery, where the youth are concerned. And we took advantage of the green zone. And now again, of course, COVID is back in India. And though we are at the fag end of it, but still, we are still not totally free. So what we do is we do concentrate on the fisher folks. And here you can see the fisher folks literally, we talk to them about sustainable fishing and how it is that, they do get sharks, they do get turtles when they get, it's called stranded, fishing. So while they're, conducting their catch, it's of course, some places it's just by pole fishing, which is very safe, and some it is with, nets. So we explain to them the dangers of the nets and the plastic, use of the nets and alternatives. And then we sit, next slide, please. And we involve them that how do you know which are the areas? So the fishing community here where we work in, work as faculty with us, and they help us to identify the fish species, the areas where we are experiencing problems of, dearth of turtles vanishing, or the seagrass being, getting explored and, being rampaged upon. And that's how they help us to identify the reef areas which have bleached and which are being, hit by tourism, or maybe just by climate change or the storms that come in. So we've been doing coral plantation as well, but more than coral plantation, we've been identifying the areas of the coral degradation. That's the area that we've started initially with the student programs. And when we dive deep into the oceans, of course, we're collecting the dive community. So if there's any divers of you here on this August gathering, please do join us. The Ocean Group for Climate Reality Project would like to take this forward. And if we train you, of course, life safety measures and about mapping, about ocean habitat, and the field trips for us are the main focus. Our system, our method of education where ocean restoration is concerned. Next slide, please. And here, of course, you can see that, we do talk to them about ending their, subsidiaries, because they'll be overfishing. It's a very sensitive topic because the ocean belongs to the ocean habitat community. So how do we get the international policies, the Indian laws, and the various laws and the segments that I work in, the policies, how we transcend that policy and transform that knowledge into them in exchange, next slide, please, for the knowledge that they give back to us, yeah? So when they tell us, that this area or this zone has white corals and white tips, we know that these corals are bleached, and why they bleached, how many years they've been bleached. So there's a very good network exchange system that we focus on from the marine habitat communities, whether it's youth, young adults, fishermen, and even women. Next slide, please. And of course, every ocean that I've dived in, right from Australia to Asia to, Sri Lanka and Maldives and even Galapagos and Lakshadweep, the Science Technology Center is in place, So that when we interact with them gives us hope that yes, ecological restoration where the ocean is concerned is going to go forward. But of course, there's a dearth of funding, there's a dearth of government support in some areas. So therefore, we interact with them and we document and data collect what are the areas of ocean restoration that they would like to work on and focus on, keeping their own backyard scenario in place. So right now, this year, we focus mostly homebound on researching. Next slide, please. And of course, we do have 14B supporting small scale fishermen, and all over the world, no matter how big the government has commercial fishing in place, commercial, fishing industry, how big it is, and how much it supplies, and, and the supply and chain and all the laws and everything. But who get left out? We've realized that 14, the B section applies mainly to India, where we have, small fishermen and large numbers, and they're a sector to be reckoned with because they need GPS, they need mapping, they need to be safety equipped, and life-threatening cyclones, they're always there out the sea, they need to be informed, and that's how the science and technology sector, that's how the government safety sector and the small fisheries need to be informed of how they can grow. And we don't want to transform them into commercial fishermen, international fishermen. No, it's their life. They worship their backyard fishing and they respect the fish that they catch. And they'll always throw back small size. They'll always put the turtle back and they'll always tell us, ma'am, there was a shark in the catch today. And, things like that. So small fishermen are also as part of our education system. The next slide, please.
Ms. Elsie, I request you to please conclude as we are running out of time. Thank you.
Next slide, please. So of course, we do educate them on the international laws. Next slide, please. And this particular picture, I will tell you, was in Galapagos. And this happens very often in India. I haven't used an Indian picture here as yet. But the local fishermen need government support where they can take, their mission forward of, the knowledge about fishing and fisheries and the ocean habitat. So this is a beautiful picture where they're quite a segment which needs the support to take forward. Next slide, please. Here, and the second most thing that we focus upon is the women, and we are studying, our ongoing research is on the gender equality, where the women community need to be on board of policy decision making. So that we are enforcing, and many of our women community folks in Lakshadweep are in fact already got on board with the mission, which is fabulous success story. And of course, in Andamans now, we're trying that more women represent, so there's more gender equality. So we focus also on the women gender equality where the oceans is concerned. Next slide, please. Like you can see, TDK, traditional knowledge is a very important aspect of our research. Next slide, please. And we've kept them as our mentors, as our seniors, and we spend days and nights with them just documenting their telltales, their stories, and transform them into data and research. And that's how we go forward for the next generation to incorporate and bridge the gap between TDK and the scientific technology centers in these various ocean habitats. Next slide, please. You can put the next slide, please. This is how they gather around the ocean areas, and there's an exchange of information. Next slide, please.
I request you to please conclude. We need to give some time to other speakers also.
All right. Okay. So the next, keep few seconds. Yes. So this is the school. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. So that's it. A very short synopsis of the work that we do using gender equality, the women, and TDK and scientific knowledge, and working with the youth and maybe also talking about them about ocean careers in marine biology, oceanography, and marine technology, where they can be the force for ecological restoration and be the Green Brigade for 2020 to 2030. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for having invited me. Running out of time, but that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Elsie. In fact, your session was a totally different session because you made us dive into deep oceans and you made us learn life below water, which is SDG 14. So we'll come to you with more questions towards the end of the program. And before we go to the next speaker, let us first welcome Director of Punjab Energy Development Agency, Mr. MP Singh. Mr. MP Singh has just joined us in the program. We welcome you, sir, please. And now let's move forward with the next youth speaker of the day. Ms. Bich Pham is Project Coordinator, Vietnam Municipal SWM project, and has more than 18 years of working experience from sustainable agriculture development, agri-food, governance, institutionalization, policy advocacy, local economic development, housing and urban and rural linkages development, PR, and social media campaigns and events following. She has experiences working for UN Habitat and Vietnam Solid Waste Management, VNSWM project, one project funded by the Government of Canada in the field of social waste management and plastic reduction, urban agriculture, social and community policy advocacy, housing and urban development, institutionalization and networking, as well as project management. So Ms. Bich Pham, before I request you to give your particular case studies and experiences, I request all of the youth speakers to please make your presentation of specific 5 minutes only, because we are already going beyond time and we should try to complete the program on time. So let's take 5 minutes for each youth speakers. Over to you now.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar Gulati. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited to the conference today. Thank you very much, Mr. Rekha Trivedi, Karamveer Singh, my friend, and the Association of Professional Social Workers and Development Practitioners, India, to inviting me to the conference on the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, Sustainable Development in Action, leading the way to the future we want. You know, at this moment, the general situation in Vietnam for this action for the UN Decade on the Ecosystem Restoration. In Vietnam, in order to organize meaningful, practical, and effective activity, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment proposes ministry, agency, central mass organization, and provinces across the country to organize the activity to respond to the World Ocean Day, World Environment Day, Vietnam Sea and Iceland Week, and Action Month for the environment in accordance with the actual conditions. The activities ensure priority to realize the dual goals, both safe prevention and control of the COVID-19 pandemic and socio-economic development in the current period. And you know, I worked for UN Habitat Vietnam office for more than 10 years. And we applied the green program since 2015. And I would like to tell you the project that I directly involved in. That is for the applied methodology. Firstly, the green program, that is the eco-ism, eco-modernism, and eco-realism. Three approaches are impacting to the ecological restoration. And UN Habitat Vietnam office has conducted the Green Growth City Development Strategy, key strategic initiatives, the key strategy and program for Da Nang City. That is one of the central government city, mega city of Vietnam. the focus on the sustainable urban service and infrastructure, natural resources management for development, and social development and green growth SWOT analysis. And from the overview of the Green Growth City Development Strategic Initiative, that is, we think of the from opportunity to the key strategies and program. The first key strategy, that is the sustainable material management, waste to resource, with the strategic objective, the smarter resources use from waste to resource. And the second, that is the competitive green industry, minimize negative environment impact, reduce overall volume of waste. And we have the key program, establish the Integrated Resource Recovery Center, IRRC, establish the biomass plant in rural areas in Da Nang. And also the biomass plant in rural areas, main concept, the biomass refer to all biological material that can be integrated, incinerated, gasified, or fermented to the produce bioenergy. With the major resource sources and bioenergy biomass, agricultural crop residues such as the rice husks, sustainable wood and forest residues, crop or plants specially grown for the use of biofuel, urban and industrial waste. And the second strategy, that is green transportation developments, access mobility. The strategic objective to increase people accessibility and mobility with the less emission efficiency, promote the competitiveness of various related industry, create jobs related to the green public transportation, and improve traffic safety and build walkable city. And we developed a key program for these strategic objectives, that is develop the sustainable transport system for traffic safety, clean better air, transition to the public transportation like BRT. And the third key strategy, green industrialization, better productivity, efficiency, resource use. We have the strategic objective to improve resource and energy use efficiency, generate industrial symbiosis network in the industrial park, internalize and promote cleaner production system and network, integrate the strategic planning for high-tech park into the other development plans. And of the fourth key strategy, we utilize the integrated water resources management with the objective coordinate to the research, data collection and management projects, integrate land use planning with the natural resources management, improve the environment assessment process, and integrate the monitoring and evaluation indicators in system, and promote the ecological in water literacy. We also focus on the fifth key strategy, green agriculture village, green product and eco-tourism, with the focus on the objectives, higher productivity and better quality of products geared with green in agricultural production, new market trend and high-end consumers, local consumer and community-driven green growth initiative, utilize valuable local assets, protect environment, create additional value and benefits rural areas, integrate basic social environment service to the rural development plan, focus on the resilient to climate change vulnerability. And the key strategy fifth also focus on the green product with the urban-rural exchange, community-driven agricultural experiencing activities, IT-based business development for urban-rural communication. And the second project that is funded by the government of Canada that now I manage and coordinate. Focus on the SDG 11 for the sustainable development, sustainable city and communities. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities has entered into the agreement with the selected pilot city in Bắc Giang and Hoi An to jointly implement the improved municipal solid waste practices to reduce SLCP. It means that short-lived climate pollutants are potent greenhouse gas and air pollutant. They have relatively short atmospheric lifetime compared to longer life greenhouse gas, such as carbon dioxide, and having a warming impact on climate in Vietnam project, commonly called the Vietnam Solid Waste Management Project. And also it will agree for both cities in Hoi An and Bắc Giang. The focus of the support would be in the following: rehabilitation of the landfill and control treatment of gas generated at the landfill within the context of their rehabilitation of the landfills. And the second component, that is pilot programs to demonstrate the source separation, collection, and composting of organic waste and recovery of recyclable and materials in a rural setting, preparation of the municipal solid waste management strategy to guide future decision-making in the sector. We also support the material recovery facility model for plastic reduction strategy. Meanwhile, the pilot project are parallel implementing and will be ended at the end of August 2021. And at the community level, projects focus on the SDG 11 as well. It also have the Garden Symphony projects, phase 1, with the activating the green public space in all collective housing. In the all collective housing means that the local resident will plant trees by themselves in the house and in the green public space. And phase 2, that is the garbage to garden, related to the solid waste management as well. It means that all the actors in the society work together, be in action. It will reduce the methane generation to the environment. And I would like to share you some pictures on this. Can I share? And here is the activating the public space in the old collective housing toward the creative, the community. And you can see that is the before with the waste disposal existed for more than 20 years. And it is in the second half of the internal road of the old collective housing living space, and the people have lived for more than 20 years. Is very terrible condition. And here you can see for before the project comes in, and is a lot of the waste, and not only the resident here to put every day, but also other people come here and put the waste. And then in 2017, we have mobilized the garbage to garden to come here, and then also mobilize the choose professional architects to come here and to assist local people. And this is the phase in 2017 to hand over the project to the local areas, local residents. And also the second phase, that is the community meeting with the architect and artists to activating the outside and outdoor of the collective housing. And we have also several meetings with the local communities there. And now the come here is the yesterday, and now is before and after, and you can see. in the left hand is before and the right hand, that is the project come in.
Ms. Pham, I request you to please conclude as we are running out of time.
Yeah, it's so quickly, and here you can see they call the project that is the garden symphony. It means that all the household level here they plant the tree around the floor, and also they plant the tree in the public space as well. And also we organize the weekend carnival and to organize all the activities for the children and the old people. And also other things I have the project is the food security and disco soup project. It's under the program of the slow food. As I so mentioned for the fish, and also we also have the slow fish. It means that catching the seasonal fishes. And in the complicated COVID-19 pandemic situation in Vietnam now, the world is changing and people stay at home, work from home, but it not stop us to think, to do action for better future, especially our awareness and assumption for the young generation and the way we treat with our food and community. And we need to learn how to select stuff, and when we go to shopping, habit of eating and cooking to reduce, refuse, reduce, reuse, replace, recycle, and restore. And on the 24th of April, I have conducted the disco soup event with the concept of using food and music to connect the souls and make friend networking together. We will collect food together, chopping, cutting, and cooking and eating together. We nearly come to the grace and will be nearly thrown away. The disco soup to serve 300 meals for people, saving and finding the food waste to zero food waste in the message that no one left behind. Then this project has encouraged the local residents at all levels to be involved and also promote the Choose Food movement for their logical thinking changes. And just a few minutes, I want to share just 2 or 3 minutes things, the music, and then I think that is quite interesting. And
Ms. Pham, if you don't mind, can we please skip this video, because otherwise other speakers will not get the time.
Okay, just 2 minutes. Okay, thank you for listening, and I think that have the question and answer later. Thank you.
Ms. Pham, I request you to please put this particular link in the chat box so that even while hearing to other speakers also in between, they can see this particular video on their systems or let's say their mobile phones also.
Okay.
So please put that particular link in the chat box, because even we don't want to miss it, but we'll have an alternative way of seeing what you want.
Yeah. Welcome people to click to the link in the chat box later to see the interesting video and music and dance to connect the soul people for the food waste fighting. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pham, and again we'll come back to you during the question answers session, and we'll move forward with our next youth speaker of the day, Mr. Kinley Dorji. Mr. Kinley Dorji is lecturer and program leader of the Department of Environmental Management, Royal Thimphu College, Royal University of Bhutan. He review and recommend improvements to existing environmental strategies, investigate environmental incidents, and develop action plans. As an individual and professional, he always follows and enforces environmental policies and procedures, perform environmental research, and prepare research reports, which helps in developing budget and timelines for environmental operations and develop cost reduction initiatives while still maintaining quality. He always believes in spreading knowledge by providing job trainings and assistance to team members when needed, while staying updated with environmental trends and legislations. Mr. Kinley Dorji, over to you for your sharings. And again, it's a request, let's make it precisely for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, moderator, Mr. Hitesh. in the name of saving time, I'll just present the first part of my presentation. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the virtual participants from around the world. I would like to take this opportunity to firstly express my honor to relay felicitations for this very important day to you all from His Majesty the King and the people of the Kingdom of Bhutan. How delighted it is to convene here on this special virtual platform, calling together the spirits and minds of people from around the world to celebrate the International Day of the Environment. This is indeed a sacred moment for the humanity to gratify and to cherish the blessings of natural environment we live in and aspire to contribute to the continued glory and prestige of it in the human space. Let me introduce myself here. I'm Kiledorji. I'm a lecturer and a program leader of the Environmental Management Department here at Royal Thimphu College. I'm also the curator of E-Conscious Society, the youth-led organization with the vision to enhance the prestige of natural elements in the human space by advocating better understanding of the natural environment using a multitude of lenses beyond ecological sciences. With my gratitude for having given me this opportunity to speak about biodiversity conservation, restoration, ecosystem, and climate change, representing my society, my college, and my country on this important day, I would like to start by talking about biodiversity in Bhutan first. Bhutan is a very small country nestled in the eastern Himalaya with the population of little shy of 1 million. Bhutan has been declared as one of the biological hotspots in the world. That means my country has very rich biodiversity, a natural as well as agricultural biodiversity. We are prominently an agrarian nation with our economy heavily depending on agriculture, tourism, and hydropower. You can think of how intrinsically as well as intricately our economy relates to the rich natural resources we have. This predominant economic activity which feeds our economy and the well-being are all based on direct benefits or derivatives rising from the rich biodiversity we have. My country has 72% of its landmass under forest cover. How did we achieve this? The feat is achieved only due to the priority we give to the conservation and institutionalization of it, culturally, legally, and by adopting the cautious but important developmental pathway guided by what we refer to as developmental paradigm called gross national happiness. But what is there to be proud of? We are a developing nation with our economic growth rate of little more than 3% today. However, this is because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we had it about 7% then. The economic growth as well as as we all see around the world has its own set of impacts on environment. The pristine Himalayan ecosystem and its integrity Bhutan has can be undermined. In many ways, it is not about the question of having a good forest cover or the healthy biodiversity. It is about the functions ecosystem with rich biodiversity has on the various facets of humanity and the Mother Earth, its system actually. Now coming to the climate change, a common issue humanity faces, Bhutan has been declared the only carbon negative country in the world. However, the pride of being an only carbon negative country and the national aspiration to conserve huge landmass under forest cover in all times to come have many things to lose in the face of climate change. The climate change recognized as one of the most prominent and complex environmental challenges facing humanity not only exacerbate the loss of biodiversity, but also asserts its weight of socio-economic and socio-cultural and economic consequences on all the countries around the world, more severely in the Himalayan region, and yes, Bhutan as a landlocked, underdeveloped nation nestled in the fragile Himalayan ecosystem, whose economy highly depend on climate-sensitive sectors. So Bhutan today experiences and will likely be further aggravated the impacts of global climate change, like change in seasonality, climate disaster, and overall deterioration of natural resources, undermining future livelihood. With increasing climate vulnerability, particularly in the Himalayan region, where communities are unprepared and poorly equipped with the mechanisms to enhance the resilience and adapt to changes, it is an imperative measure to advocate climate change at the grassroots level for a successful and long-term solution. What can we do? One of the answers or the fixes to this question or issue definitely is ecosystem restoration. I'm no expert to speak on this subject of ecosystem restoration, but I'm very optimistic about the positive impacts it is going to bring on the health of the planet by enriching the recoverability, diversity, and resilience of the natural ecosystem. I'm very optimistic indeed, and we all should be. The United Nations has not only taken major steps towards conserving the biodiversity to combat climate change, but also initiated a global restoration initiative by declaring 2020 to 2030 as a decade of ecological restoration. This will not only act as a springboard to start and accelerate the restoration activities, this could foster the common aspiration to restore global environment, exchange views about it, and most importantly, mobilize the resources towards this end. Now, the question is, as a youth and as a youth speaker, what can we do? I would like to point towards three things here. The first one is education and technology. Second one is global enablers, which can and would include common support towards restoration. And third, the implementation of all these plans. As an environmental educator and an advocate myself, I would like to touch on the education and ecosystem restoration, sorry. There is actually a general need to revision and refashion the goals of environmental education. There is a need to be, there is a need of actually a better human attachment towards environmental bandwagon, which is mightily supported with frustration and abhorrence, which is very rampant around the world. The education should enlighten souls to see the world and the environment as an indelible complement to human well-being. What has science actually done that the traditional and indigenous belief and practice has not towards conservation of environment? I'm not saying that the science and technology has made an end here. I'm just trying to bring in a perspective here about why we don't include the traditional values to enhance human relationship with the nature. The only way forward I see to restore this relationship is by enlightening ourselves of the intricate relationship we have with the nature, which led to actually natural conservation for thousands of years.
Mr. Kinley, please conclude.
Okay. To end, I would like to remark that ecosystem restoration is an imperative initiative, but it should start with enlightening the minds and heart to restore the human-nature relationship, which as youth can do for the well-being of our planet. And on this day, a very important day, let us take this pledge to do it, to reestablish, to restore human-nature relationship. I think I'll end here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kinley Dorji. And while we were listening to you, we all know that Bhutan is being known for biodiversity conservation and happiness index. So I think once the situation becomes normal, we should plan a program at your particular country, Bhutan. Right.
Yes, definitely. I had a few conversations with the organization. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll move to our next youth speaker of the day, which is Mr. Sanjay Devkota. Mr. Sanjay Devkota is Program Development Officer with Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Fund Development Board, Nepal. Mr. Devkota is responsible for facilitation to wash clutter as a co-lead and regular coordination with DDRC, DWASH CC, and GON line agencies. Coordination with agencies working in different sectors to response in emergency. He is also leading initiatives for advocacy and awareness through influential activities, district to community level, message dissemination to central WASH cluster about ongoing response and additional response, organizing cluster meetings regularly, and report writing. Before I request Mr. Sanjay Devkota to give his case studies and experiences, I request all of you to be here because we'll be coming up with a speed networking sessions after the question and answers. And all of you will enjoy that particular speed networking sessions on which Rajiv ji will share after the question answers session. So over to you, Mr. Sanjay Devkota.
Thank you, sir. Namaste and good afternoon, everyone watching globally. At first, grateful to the organizing committee for this immense opportunity and glad to be associated with the APSWDP. This program, of course, helps to foster understanding and raise awareness about the importance, concern, and challenge about biodiversity. Indeed, I'm from social background. However, as a development practitioner, it will be relevant to share some biodiversity challenges that we have been facing year after year. Since biodiversity and climate change is cross-cutting issues, so all stakeholders have to stand together to restore and conserve ecosystem. As the program is based on the conserving biodiversity, restoring ecosystem and climate change, I would like to share some important initiatives taken by the governments, development partners, as well as threats and way forward. That's the next, please. I will go recently. This is based on the ecosystem restoration is a global environment. Next, sir. Nepal has also as a developed theme, the new thinking and creation, restoration and natural systems. This is the national slogans for to celebrate the national environment. And from today, we are celebrating the weekly sanitation week as well for 1 week. This is started in Nepal. Next. Yeah, there we are. I'm focusing today's program is on the climate action. Is the 13 goals and the 15th. I will talk based on these topics as well. Okay, so next. Okay, this is the main important agenda. This Nepal government has mentioned these environmental rights as a fundamental rights of the every citizens, as a right to clean environment. This is a very encouraging initiation taken by the government, and some agendas are also some sub-top section 30 they are given, and every citizen shall have the right to live in a clean and healthy environment. It is a very good initiation. All the development partners and other sectors have also adopted these policies while making the policy as well. Okay, next. Okay, some major initiatives taken by the government after based on the SDGs to achieve the target goals by 2030. Constitution of Nepal and SDG roadmap has been developed. Likewise, a national climate change policy we have, Environment Protection Act we have, the climate adaptation village program is started in Nepal. That's very encouraging and very plus point to support the climate change, environment issues, and biodiversity conservation as well. Okay, next. I'm going so fast because I have limited time. So next slide, please. Okay, I would like to share some issues here, some data. Baseline 2015, we have only 0 number of climate smart villages, and we have targeted to achieve around at least 45 climate smart villages. And now we have 42 climate smart villages. That is very good, good encouraging development improvement in the environment sector. And some indicators we have been fixed to achieve this target. Likewise, implementation adaptation plan we have made, like a community level adaptation plan and local level adaptation preparation plan as well, that is made based on the SDGs 2030. Next. Like climate adaptation village program implementation guideline, there is number A, water smart practices. There are rooftop water harvesting, plastic road that encourage cemetery water tank. Likewise, carbon energy smart village, improve stove and plantation. For the support agriculture smart village, we have improved cattle house and biopesticides, drip irrigation, drought resistant crops, and the plastic tunnel. Next. And we are planning to provide these programs for 40 houses in each community, and this is very encouraging. And all the local level, like local sector, local government has also put this agenda in the while making the policy formulation and making the strategy in local level, like biodiversity smart village for hope, herbal garden, master nursery and plant production. Like as knowledge smart activities for capacity enhancement, community seed banks, temperature and rainfall measures. These are some indicators that followed by the local levels to make the village as a green village, as climate adaptation village. That is very good initiation in local level. And major ecosystem services we have in Nepal, that cultivated food. And almost all of the population depend on the food in Nepal and harvest the white food like mushroom and other foods we have. This is the this is given by the nature, like raw materials that we use to make like the like jacket and like mat and other things is we use in the local our areas. Like we have natural medicines, water flows, flora and fauna. That is, Nepal is very rich in natural resources. It's very beauty. like local climate, air quality regulation. There's forests contribute to balance the temperature, because in the Tarai region, like erosion control by forest, biological controls like vultures that help to reduce the population that is caused by the pest and other things, and the disease is spreading. That is very, we have the ecosystem services we are getting from the from nature. Next. And other thing, next, Western tourism system. Just we are, the Nepal is very rich in tourism sector, and many tourists come from the worldwide for like the bird watching, wildlife safaris, trekking, an important source of natural local income. Likewise, aesthetic benefits, inspiration, mental health benefits, like Rara Lake and other lakes, that we have to make, conserve and restore this being polluted and being degraded day by day. And the spiritual release experience, like the Gosai Kunda, many pilgrims go to the spiritual village to visit the place. That is the very, we have the services. Next. However, we have major threats to biodiversity conservation. First of all, threats to forest biodiversity is a loss of habitat due to the encroachment of the people into the forest area for the plantation, other in crops, illegal wildlife trade, human wildlife is a conflict due to the capturing of the field by the community people, and the stone, gravel and sand mining from the rivers and stream. That is very challenging for biodiversity. Number two, next. We have threats to rangelands, biodiversity, overgrazing, crossing by the large herds of livestock, cow, buffaloes, everywhere. There is no any rules and regulations. Likewise, the conversion of grassland into agriculture by the local and community people somewhere. This is the agenda. The fire is a very burning issue in Nepal. Day to day, each and every year we are facing. Next. Yes, like the threats in wetland biodiversity. This is also very alarming issues in Nepal. Encroachment of the agriculture settlement, like diversion of water for irrigation, damming of rivers, widespread mining gravel from the rivers and other water pollution from the household and industries and everywhere. Where then properly it's not managed as is. That is a very crucial issues for the to manage the pollution, and it is making the pollution so worse day by day. Next. Threats to agro biodiversity. As you know, commercialized agriculture, there we have widespread modern hybrid and excessive use of the insecticide, pesticide. That is a major challenging, as you know. Next, sir.
Mr. David Bota, I request you to please conclude.
Okay, sir. So I'm going to the. Okay, so I would like to share some major threats like the deforestation, forest fire, shifting cultivation, overgrazing, overexploitation, medical plants in trade industry, wild plant resources in livelihood and the rural people, and resource for the excessive extraction of the wild plant resources. They are the major threats in Nepal. And after the COVID-19, some socio-economic impact that is in the biodiversity in Nepal is seen, like cultural impact, like in the wedding ceremony, other ceremony is restricted. And environmental impact, there's in hot spot wastage, agricultural impact, social, psychological impact, international food supply chain, and risks of hard loans for the for child labor is very risk in Nepal. And I would like to share to make the Nepal is an open defecation free country. Master plan was made 2011. That's a properly implemented because it was completely and it was very successfully implemented in the local level. So we need to make a plan to biodiversity conservation from the top to bottom and to localize, and local people and local stakeholders, we should be encourage them to stand together, integrate with the fragmented situations. We need to make a major breakthrough in the ecosystem and the environment sector as well. And for this, we have the government leadership that is supporting environment, stakeholder partnership to create synergetic action. We should have encourage and attract private sector for marketship and community ownership. With our community ownership, we can achieve any new project, we can achieve anything, we cannot achieve biodiversity conservation and restoration. That is a very alarming issue. In the conclusion, to achieve the target, we have to effective multi-stakeholder and inter-sectoral engagement management, good cross-border and cross-sector collaboration, good policy coherence and joint efforts to meet all the SDGs. SDGs as a transferable agenda with the new governance model, scale up and scale out climate change adaptation mitigation, knowledge and evidence-based policy reforms we need to develop, inclusive and cooperative environment governments, and capacity development at all levels of addressing technology gaps, and incentive-based management ecosystem, subsidy reward should be provided, and promotion of ICT, information communication technology, to avoid digital gap we need to promote, and overall for the sustainability, restore and conservation of the ecosystem. We all stakeholders come together and stand together, and we have to make joint effort, integrated, fragmented efforts. I think so. And because of limited time, I conclude my presentation here. And if you have any queries, please feel free to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay Devkota. It was nice listening to the different initiatives that your organization has taken in environment conservation. And we'll again come back to you during question answers session. Now let me introduce our next youth speaker of the day, Mr. R. Clario Dimaseta Jaya, who is a project leader, Urban and Regional Planning Division, Indonesia. Is a regional and urban planner who has been involved in various aspects of planning. He is registered to the Indonesian Association of Urban and Regional Planner, member of ISO CARP as an urban and regional planning specialist. With an ability to speak and write in 3 languages, English, Indonesian, and Javanese, he is able to relate well with others and to maintain relationship through hospitality and diplomacy. As an urban and regional planner, he has an experience in organizing multi-stakeholder meetings and coordinating with various stakeholders, including governments, civil society, and non-government organizations. Mr. R. Clario, over to you now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hitesh Kumar, for the introductions. I will share screen my materials. Okay. Today I want to share my opinion about the challenges of ecosystem restoration in your perspective. Land is a complex biophysical system providing vital ecosystem services for human well-being and a good quality of life. Unfortunately, many of the global land resources is already degraded due to various direct and indirect driver of change, including pollution due to rapid urbanization, industrialization, as well as climate change. So the timely restoration of degraded land is essential for ecosystem resilience, and also for ensuring food and nutritional security of the growing human populations. As we know, the UN Environmental Programme described ecosystem restoration as a process of reversing degradation of ecosystem. In other words, to improve the productivity and capacity of ecosystem to meet the needs of society, this can be done by allowing the natural regeneration of overexploited ecosystem or by planting trees on other plants. Recently, ecosystem restoration substantially supports the objectives of international agreements and global objectives, including the Sustainable Development Goals and Strategic Plan for Biodiversity 2011 to 2020. Ecosystem restoration business opportunities in Indonesia are increasingly promising, especially from various forest products, even in its development. The management of ecosystem restoration, which used to be based on foundations and non-governmental organizations.
Mr. Clario, is there any technical problem or?
Yeah, can you hear my voice?
Yeah, we can hear your voice.
Okay, so I continue without the share screen. It's okay. Ecosystem restoration business opportunities in Indonesia are increasingly promising. It's for forest products. Even in its development, the management of ecosystem restoration, which used to be based on foundations and non-governmental organizations, is now starting to shift to the private sector. This is increasingly interesting with the government of Indonesia's efforts introduce profit-oriented ecosystem restoration management. Efforts to expand the initiation of ecosystem restoration need to be accompanied with development of policy instruments and promotional efforts. The reason is business entities engaged in this field must make business plans so that the activities are profitable and run normally. With the uniqueness of this type of business, I think it requires an incentive policy from the governments. In Indonesia, we organize village facilitators in the field area. The role is village facilitator is mapping peatlands, monitoring development activities on peatlands, as well as in educating the public about the peatlands and its use in the implementation of ecosystem restorations. Not only that, they also become deeply involved in every activity in the villages, from planning and establishing rural areas, social forestry, and agrarian reform. Then, also conflict resolutions, village economic empowerment, strengthening community institutions in protections, and management of peatlands and preventing forest and land fires. In addition, the strengthening of local innovation by community related to peatland management. So, through this explanation, I just want to highlight two important things as a shared learning today. The first is the capacity to support the process and performances of the ecosystem in restoration movement. And the second is monitoring of the risks of development initiatives. So what can we do as the youth or the young generations? I think as the young people, we are looking to develop regenerative business, center of their business models. We must recognize and invest in young entrepreneurs in early stage projects, creating a robust support systems for these young people to engage in ecosystem long term. So in my opinion, it has never been more urgent and promising for our younger generations to tap into their inner entrepreneur spirit and drive practical action in the world. So because our collective future depends on it. Okay, thank you. This is the end of my sharing.
Yeah, Mr. Clario, have you concluded or do you want to share more?
This is the end of my presentation. I conclude if as young people, we are looking to develop regenerative business. So I think younger generation need to promote and invest in young entrepreneurs in early stage projects, building the robust support system for these young people. So we need to engage the young people in ecosystem restoration over the long term because our collective future depends on it. Thank you. This is my end.
Thank you, Mr. Clario.
I would share my materials so I could see the materials because of these technical problems.
Okay, should I take it forward from here, Mr. Clario, with your due permission? Yeah, Mr. Clario, I think there is some technical problem at your end, and I just wanted to share with all of you, we are already running half an hour late, but the sessions of such kind of, you can say, speakers where they are having experience from different backgrounds, I think even 3 hours is much less time to share their particular knowledge. So we'll conclude with this particular session of youth speakers now, and we'll now go to the question and answers. I request Mr. Rajiv Kumar Chaudhary, who is Honorary Director of Capacity Building and Training, APS WDP, to please take forward the question and answers session. Mr. Rajiv Chaudhary, please.
Thank you, Hitesh, and this is very wonderful technical part of all the sessions to have today. So I request all the speakers, so please be there, and we have like keeping in mind the time constraints for question and answer. So we will not take entire set of questions. We have received from our participation through registration process. So we might pick few of the questions there. So my first question is this question is coming from Jagdish Kundu to Dr. Tuba. So question is, how environment can be saved when policymakers are pro-capitalism and development mean explanation of resources not preserved? So this question is to Dr. Tuba.
This is a very big question, and I can see over several elements here. Can you just read it again?
Yes, so how environment can be saved when the policy makers are pro-capitalism and development means explanations of resources not preserved? Exploitations, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, let's unpack that policymakers pro-capitalism. I mean, what does that mean, capitalism? You know, it's the concept of capitalism can mean different things to different people. And right now there could be, you know, stakeholder capitalism. There are different types of capitalism, first of all. Number two, not all policymakers are pro-capitalism. And you know that countries now are driven by sustainable development goals. And their, you know, COP26 for UNFCCC meeting for climate change is coming up. So countries have a nationally determined contribution. So they have targets and goals that they, you know, they try to adhere to. So that's one. Two, yes, so far we've been going down the path of forest and resource exploitation, and that's not good. So let's think about regeneration. Let's think about restoration. Let's think about, you know, taking care of nature, and nature can take care of us. And, you know, not all policymakers are like that. I think a lot of them are actually aware of the issue that we are facing. Now, you can see that even companies, you know, companies are supposed to be profit driven, right? There could be capitalism models all over, written over private sector, but it's not. They have, you know, regenerative activity, economy, they have a circular economy. So how can we change that? I think it's you know, there's over 300 people in this platform, the one that are working towards the better goods for society, you know, the next generation. We need to put this forward. We need to hold policymakers accountable. We need to actively contribute to policy making. And how can we do that? By generating evidence, by advocacy, by changing our own behavior and the other generation's behavior. So you are the generation for innovation and technology. So many things within our reach, and it's just that we have to determine and have to collectively do that. So yeah, I don't know if I answer the question, but I mean, capitalism, we can have the whole day talking about it.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Tuba. I hope the participants are also satisfied with these answers. So now move to our next questions, question number 2. So this question is from Dr. A. Nancy to Ms. Beachpalm. So question is it is possible to protect the environment along with industrial development? It's maybe similar to that, but the response maybe we say from Dr. Beachpalm.
It's related to, can you repeat again for the questions?
Yes. Is it possible to protect the environment along with industrial development?
Yeah, recently, some project, we work together with UNESCO and UNIDO related to the green industrialization and to set up for the, as I mentioned in the sharing speech, for the eco-industrial park. And in case of all the companies related to and located in the industrial zone, they apply for the smart management and smart production and consumption, and it can be controlled for the issues and the matters of the environment. And according to the UNIDO at this moment, they also apply for the smart approaches in the company and the business development.
Yes, thank you. And I hope the participants are satisfied with the response. So now moving to our next questions. So this question is from Tanjim Aziz to Dr. Kamla Intan. So the question is how we can get people more involvement towards sustainable way of living. This question is to Dr. Kamla Intan.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. I think for me, based on my experience, is from the education side. So without educations, it is impossible to raise up the self-awareness about the environment. I think that is the main point, that is my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now moving to our next questions, question number 4. So this question is from Nandini Agnihotri to Miss Dia Andrea Worley. So this question is, what is the biggest environmental threat?
Thank you very much for the question. I would say one of the biggest or the biggest environmental threat is climate change, because it affects the global world and it really has a lot of impact, and we don't know yet how we can actually really prevent this to happen. And I think we all need to work on that, be it on local initiatives, being to support biodiversity, increase resilience, consume more locally, make sure you buy from fair and sustainable sources, avoid any CO2 emissions. And I think this is something that we all need to tackle and we need to focus on, because the effects or impacts from climate change are really enormous and can be very tremendous.
Okay, thank you, Dia. And the next question is, the question is come from 11-year-old age student. So he's asking, like, my name is Arav, and I'm 11-year-old. I want to know from the speakers how young children of my age can contribute to fighting against climate change. So this is open questions. So maybe I request 2 or 3 resource persons to respond to these questions. So start with Dia again. So if you want to respond to this 11-year age student.
Sure, I think it's very thoughtful of an 11-year-old to think of, what can he do? And a lot of people actually ask the same questions to themselves and thinking like, I'm just a small individual person, I cannot do anything, but that's not true. You can do something as an individual. And as a kid, especially, I think what you can do most is to talk to your parents, to talk to your, the older generation, and tell them, see, I have to live with what you do to the earth today. So please take care, because I also want to be able to continue living in it. And I think that's how you can change the mindset of the people who are now have the responsibility, the decision makers, and so on. So I think raising awareness, talking and saying that, yes, I want to live on this world also in the future. Please take care of it. I think that's what you can do, or what has the most effect as an 11-year-old.
Thank you. Thank you. So move to Kinley Doraji. Please unmute and provide your response. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's very thoughtful of the young guy here. I would like to respond to his question by defining three things. The first thing he can do is he can learn, he can contemplate, and then he can implement. Learning, contemplating, and then implementing will actually lead to self-leadership. And self-leadership is what is actually needed in order to champion this environmental conservation or to combat all these kind of environmental issues. So I would suggest him to maybe learn about the environment and then be individual leader. So I am a big believer of an individual leadership. So individual leadership is something we must have to achieve environmental conservation. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kinley, for very wonderful response. So move to which Paw, ma'am. So can you just add on to this? You are muted, ma'am. Can you just unmute, please?
Okay, yeah. Related to the questions, how to engage and educate the just people and the young children, young generation to involve in the project. As I share with all of you that our project in terms of the disco soup and also the weekend carnival, and it's also have the component of the weekend market. To be organized in the local to can be involved the local residents in the old collective housing directly, and then we can organize some kind of the activities like reading book and how to teach the children and the people at household level to the waste separation at source, and also composting as well in the green open public space. And also the climate change activities like the mitigation and adaptation and resilience for the secondary school students and even for the students. And also for the disposal, we involve the student in the environment faculty in the university of National University we organize, and also I train them some sessions and hand over knowledge sharing for them in order that they can work together with the donors and work with the supermarket to collect the waste, the food, merely to the food waste, and then they do the fighting food waste, and also integrate with the activities and the campaigns from the Hanoi government, like I'm a city changer from the UN Habitat and the friendly and clean environment of the Hanoi capital government. And with that action, the students from the environment university, they can lead and also take some kind of action and some technical seminars for all the students and all the children. And according to that, they can do every action. And as well as the public space that we conduct, UN Habitat has a community participatory tool. That is a community tool of Minecraft. Minecraft is the tool that just only 2 or 3 hours, and people, everyone, even the old people who cannot use the computer, they can design the public space by themselves and do and set up all the stuff that they prefer, and that is the empower them and make them to proud of the community and making the community bond to protect the environment as well.
Thank you, and I think Dr. Tuba also want to add to this response, ma'am. Yeah.
Just something real quick. So the person who asked the question, did you say 11?
11-year-old, yes.
Yeah, well, welcome. I mean, you heard about Greta Thunberg. If you haven't, then look it up. She started asking climate change question when she was, I think, 8 years old, and then told her parents to adopt a lifestyle of low carbon footprints when she was, I think, 15, and then went on a school strike. And now, it's the whole global climate change movement surged by her activity. So very small action you can do. If you're keen on knowing about environment and climate change, read more, know more, and share with your friends, your parents, have some green clubs at school that you can lead. So many things you can do, but fantastic question. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And I also thanks to those who ask many questions, but yes, due to the time, we are not able to take more questions. So I hand over to again Hitesh Kumar Gulati ji to proceed further.
Thank you very much, Rajiv ji. And now I request you to please again run the speaker's PPT once again. Yes. Thank you so much. Going forward, now we invite Mr. MP Singh, Director of Punjab Energy Development Agency, to please share his views on way forward in conserving environment, biodiversity restoration, and climate change. But before that, let me just introduce Mr. MP Singh to all of you. Mr. MP Singh is the Director of Punjab Energy Development Agency, PEDA. He is a mechanical engineer and MBA from Punjab University. Since inception of PEDA, a Punjab government undertaking in the year 1991, Mr. Singh is working in the field of renewable energy. He has more than 25 years of insightful experience in the field of renewable energy. He has done his fellowship program in waste to energy GHG emissions abatement program under GOI UNDP program in Germany, and has been involved in setting up of various renewable energy projects in the state and country. Mr. MP Singh, please.
Yeah, thank I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir. And sir, again, it's sir requesting, let's try to be precise for 5 or 6 minutes, because I hope you also understand we should conclude on.
Yes. I understand you're running very, very late.
Thank you
but
so
good
much,
to
sir.
be all of with you and part of this occasion on the World Environment Day. And it's great to have been hearing to all the speakers, and it was really, really very, very insightful experience sharing by various speakers from various countries. And it was great knowledge gain, rather, I'll say, after hearing to so many speakers from different countries. I'd just like to add, I have been asked to speak on the way forward. So after collecting all the viewpoints I can hear forward, I can just say that climate change nowadays is a big global issue for all of us. When way back when we used to look at about 15 or 20 years back, when I remember that in 2007 or somewhere, when we were the Vice President of US, Al Gore, started all this and had attached great importance to this issue. At that time, there were a lot of diverse viewpoints within the government and establishments. But later on, we can see that scientists have really affirmed that yes, it has become a great issue nowadays, and it is visible all around us. The climatic conditions have become erratic. So it's both on the government level, both on the society, community, and individual level. It has become very, very important for all of us to contribute in whatever fashion we can, at local society, at local community, and at local levels. Here in the country and here in the state of Punjab, we have tried to do a little bit in terms of our contribution in the clean energy space. I have been in this area for about close to about 30 years, and we have been doing a number of projects with the idea basically for CO2, GHG, and I'll say methane abatement. A number of such projects which we are currently doing, have been already doing it also. I'll just like to highlight that the country COP targets are around something like to increase the renewable energy, clean energy capacity to about 40% of the total installed capacity in the country by 2030. And if we look at the Indian scenario, we are currently at about something like 136 gigawatt, which is around 36% of the total installed capacity, electrical installed capacity of the country. So we are inching towards this target, and we are hoping that we'll be meeting this target. And what Government of India says is that by 2022, we should be around 220 gigawatt of the renewable energy capacity in the entire electrical power generating space. In the state of Punjab, we are around something like 14% of the total installed capacity, and we are something like 1700 megawatt. The total installed capacity in the state of Punjab is something like 13,600 megawatts. And we are highly active in the space of solar power generation, small hydros. Then we are build a number of projects in biomass, that is agriculture residue-based power generation. And we are now working in the field of compressed biogas for use as industrial and transportation fuels. That is direct methane capture. You all must be knowing that methane is 21 times more potent than carbon dioxide and leads to much higher levels of ozone depletion and damage to the upper echelons of the atmosphere. So we are trying our level best in this field to raise awareness in the rural as well as the urban societies. There are a number of waste to energy projects also which we have implemented and we are implementing. There is a landmark project which we have done in the city of Ludhiana in Punjab, where we handle about 200 tons of dairy waste per day, which leads to power generation and also compressed biogas generation. This project was supported by the United Nations Development Program under the Greenhouse Gas Emissions Abatement Program. And I also did my fellowship under the same program in Germany. We are building such a lot of such more projects in the state, with the main idea is to conserve and preserve environment. The emissions, both in the transportations, emissions in the industrial, and emissions in the farming sector are very, very high. There is a great need for replicating such projects so that we could try to bring down the emissions to levels which have been agreed in the COP Paris Agreement. And it is rather, I feel that it's a worldwide situation whereby all countries need to regulate and limit their emissions by putting in and bringing in more clean energy systems into their electrical power generating space, and also into their regular energy usage also. If we add this to the local society and community levels, like many of the earlier speakers have talked about, that could be, we could switch down to clean transportation systems. Here we are now promoting a lot of compressed biogas transportation in vehicles. We are promoting a lot of electric vehicles in this state. So such kind of initiatives, I feel, will lead to a long run drive and impetus to make part of our regular lives the new technologies and initiatives, both in the industrial, commercial, agriculture, as well as the transportation sectors. So I, though I have a lot of, I want to say, areas which I can touch upon, but yes, I thought that I'll limit my talk to this much, leaving the thought process that we definitely need to change our living styles, change towards a better and a cleaner and a future.
MP sir, there is some technical problem at your end. Your video is being paused, sir. Okay, sir. I'll take it from here. I think you were concluding your particular talk on the way forward, and thank you so much, sir, for sharing your views on conserving environment, biodiversity, restoration, and climate change. And we are very sure that with you and with PEDA, we can do a lot many projects into this area of energy and environment conservation. With this, may I now request Mr. Rajiv Kumar, Honorary Director, Capacity Building and Training, APS WDP, to please go ahead with the speed networking session. And request to you, Rajiv ji, let's not make it more than 7 minutes. 5 minutes is for the breakout rooms, and last 2 minutes if they want to share any experiences, because already we are running too late.
Yes, I suppose that 5 minutes is sufficient for introducing themselves in each other. So very fantastic. So thank you, Hitesh, for this particular interesting session. So we keep this speed networking session particularly for all the audience who join us today. So the conditions and the guidelines for this particular thing is we all divided into different breakout rooms now during this meeting, and each room will have maximum 8 to 10 participants. So we request all the participants in each breakout room will be in next 5 minutes. You may introduce yourself and explore more about a professional and development areas of mutual interest. So this particular networking session, so 8 to 10 people in one room for introducing themselves with each other. So please stick to a very limited introductions with each others to maybe we all can have a specific timing for that. So please be ready for these sessions. So we are going to create this breakout rooms. So you all are requested to click on join. There is option to join float in your screen. Yes, please join the breakout rooms. Participants already start joining. Join and start a brief introduction themselves to each others. This is very interesting part of this particular event. If anyone have facing any problems, so please report to us. those who are not joined, please see the option in your toolbar, the breakout room option. Yes, Sandeep, you have any query?
Rajiv ji, is everyone back into the main room? Or
oh, in few seconds, sir. We are waiting. In few seconds, all can come back to
okay,
the main room.
Fine.
It's working. In next 5 seconds, all can come back to our main room.
Raji, once everybody is back, let's conclude it as soon as possible.
Yes, I suppose everyone back to the main room. So I hope all enjoy this particular speed networking. But few of the participants are not techno savvy. Maybe they are not able to join, but that is very few numbers. So I hand over to the next to Hitesh Kumar Gulati to proceed with the further agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rajiv. And I hope all of you enjoyed the speed networking session. And a special thanks to Rajiv ji who planned this speed networking, where people should know more about each other.
Even sir, sorry, I missed that. If what you feel like this particular sessions, please write in a chat. So if you find happy and a good session, so please say a few words in a chat, and that's all. So over to Hitesh sir.
Okay, thank you, Rajiv. And before I go ahead, I request you to please put the next slide on the screen now. Yeah, thank you so much. And this is the organizing team behind this commemoration of World Environment Day 2021. May I now request Dr. Sumit Arora, President APS WDP, to please give the concluding remarks and vote of thanks.
So thank you, Hitesh ji, and very good afternoon, everyone. So I've been asked to deliver the concluding remarks and valedictory speech. So at the outset, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to our Chief Patron, Sir, Mr. Navjot Pal Singh Randhawa, IAS, Chief Executive Officer, Punjab Energy Development Agency, Government of Punjab, India, for accepting our request to be the chief patron for today's event and for gracing the occasion with his kind presence. Sir has a great tendency to inspire youth and individuals from all walks of life and has been a guiding force for the entire APS WDP fraternity. I would also like to put forward my sincere thanks to Mr. MP Singh, Director, Punjab Energy Development Agency, Government of Punjab, India, for his valuable support and encouragement for this event hosted by the Virtual Center of Excellence for Social Welfare Administration, in collaboration with Punjab Energy Development Agency, the Climate Reality Project India, the E-Conscious Society Royal Thimphu College, Bhutan, under the aegis of Association of Professional Social Workers and Development Practitioners. I'm also thankful to Mr. Aditya Pundi, Country Head India and South Asia, the Climate Reality Project India, Ms. Gitanjali, IFS, Research Fellow, Helsinki University, Finland, Ms. Dia Andrea Verli, Co-founder, EcoWorks, Switzerland, Dr. Thuba, Senior Advisor, Environment and Climate Change, FHI 360, Asia Pacific, Australia, Dr. T. Kamala Intan from Grahakina Foundation, Indonesia, for accepting our request to be the chief guest and speakers for today's event, which is a day of global recognition. Also, I take this opportunity to extend my heartiest thanks to our youth speakers for the event, Ms. Elsie Gabriel, founder, Young Environmentalist Program Trust India, Ms. Bichpam, Public Space Project Manager, UN Habitat Vietnam, Mr. Kinley Dorji, Program Leader, Department of Environmental Management, Royal Thimphu College, Bhutan, Mr. Sanjay Devakota, Program Development Officer, Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Fund Development Board, Nepal, Mr. R. Clario, Project Leader, Urban and Regional Planning Specialist, with the Urban and Regional Planning Division, Indonesia, for sharing their wonderful insights over the diverse issues. Behind the success of this remarkable event, a team of dedicated members has worked very hard in putting forth all possible efforts in leaving no stone unturned. I put forth my sincere thanks to Mr. Vivek Trivedi, Principal Convener for the event and Founder cum Advisor APSWDP for leading us in the right direction. His continuous endeavors in team building have shown us great dimension, especially in the field of social work profession. Our dedicated team comprising Mr. Rajiv Chaudhary, Mr. Hitesh Kumar Gulati, Mr. Deepak Yadav, Mr. Navneet Trivedi, Mr. Bhavesh Swami, Mr. Paramjit Singh, Mr. Balbir Singh, Mr. Rajiv Kumar have been diligently involved in the overall planning and execution of this event. I'm also thankful to our backend team members, Dr. Moolraj, Dr. Gitika, Dr. Priyanka, Dr. Jagmohan, Ms. Purnima, Mr. Vinay, Mr. Gautam Bhardwaj, Mr. Karamveer, and Mr. Rohit, who have made their sincere efforts ensuring the success of this event. To quote the Irish author James Joyce, better pass boldly into that other world in the full glory of some passion than fade and wither dismally with age. I strongly believe that we as APSWDP fraternity have exemplified this statement. Through these past years, we all have discovered and devoted ourselves to our passion and have grown immensely as a result. In our midst, we have expanded under the mentorship of our eminent members hailing from diverse backgrounds and constitutes the senior bureaucrats from the administrative services, senior eminent professors, medical scientists, social scientists, professional social workers, development practitioners, entrepreneurs, consultants from bilateral and multilateral agencies, activists, and students. Friends, I am especially grateful to Mr. Kinle Dorji for coming as a partner in the program through E-Conscious Society, Royal Thimphu College, Bhutan, and to Mr. Aditya Pundi from the Climate Reality Project, India. We are indeed obliged for your initiatives and look forward to future pursuits as well. Last but not the least, I'm thankful to the audience from India as well as from different parts of the world for showing their keen interest in this event, without which none of us would have come this far. We at APSWDP are open to taking any questions or post-event queries. Please feel free to reach out at apswdp@gmail.com or log on to www.apswdp.org for more information. Once again, thank you one and all for the successful conclusion of today's event.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sumit, and I request all of you to please switch on your videos, because in next 2 minutes we'll take the group photograph and then we'll conclude with today's virtual dialogue. In the meanwhile, I just wanted to inform all of you that all of you who have attended the full program will get your e-certificates by 20th June, latest by 20th June on your registered mail IDs. So please switch on your video so that we can have a group photograph before you conclude this dialogue. And grand applause for all who have attended today's session and for the speakers of the day today.
Can request all, please switch on your cameras for next 1 minute.
Rajiv ji, can you please switch on the video of Mr. Sanjeev Jaggi? He has written in the chat box his video is closed.
We have already given the access, so they try to see their video settings. They may be.
Can you just check at your end also?
Okay, it's done.
Okay, it's done. So Rajiv, we are waiting for your green signal to say this is the finish of this virtual dialogue.
Just wait for another 1 minute, please.
Yeah, Rakesh Kumarji has also requested to allow his video to be switched on. Done. It's done, Rakesh ji. And thank you very much. We have received an overwhelming response. Till now, we have received 236 feedbacks. And we request all of you who have not filled up the feedback till now, they should take 2 minutes out of their schedule and please fill the feedback.
And photograph done, sir. Thank you.
We have received only 90 responses for the signature campaign. अभी तक हमें सिर्फ 90 responses ही आए हैं signature campaign के लिए. मैं आप सभी से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि इस signature campaign को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा support करिए.
Yes, sir. Hitesh, sir, you can carry with the further.
Yes, so with your permission, should I call it as the close of the virtual dialogue today?
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you so much all, and we'll come back to you with other programs, and based on your feedbacks, we'll improve on our future programs also. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye, Karan.